Uh, it's time. This is our last one. Oh, why is that up? There's a overlay on the whole. There we go. Hey, everybody. This is our last one. Last one of the Biden era. Make sure I'm live on everything else. God. So today, and I got to find the video in time to actually talk about it because we've got to goof on him about this. We're on 2,000 megabytes per second internet. And this guy wants to bitch about infrastructure before Biden gets out of here.
You're misrepresenting what's going on here.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, it's rural internet that was supposed to do. You are not in a rural area of Florida if you're getting a 2 gigabit internet. I have one, so you're doubling.
You should see my neighbors. It's rural Florida.
Right, but we can talk about internet if we want to talk about infrastructure. The point is, 4 years ago, we passed infrastructure to get rural internet, and they've hooked up 0 people, Yergs. That's not a good number.
I didn't have 2,000 up and down 4 years ago when I was struggling with Comcast.
I'm not talking about 2,000 up and down. We don't have broadband speeds, period. We don't have 20 down in a lot of the country in rural areas. And, I think that's actually a good thing to do. I think we should get everyone connected to faster internet. My point is the government's not good at it. 4 years ago, we passed this and we still don't have broadband. Not one customer has been hooked up in any state with the $42 billion set aside for rural internet thing. And this is my point is that the federal government is very slow and sclerotic. And this is something we should do, but we're not. Same thing with the chargers. We tried to do the same thing with electric chargers. They built 3. That's not impressive. We used to build things quickly.
I stayed at a hotel in Palm Springs that had more than 3 in their parking lot.
Yeah, but not built by the government. They put them in there themselves privately, probably.
Probably part of that useless whatever Mike Johnson's trying to get rid of, the requirement or whatever.
My point is that Biden.
My thing about internet.
Yeah,
and I'll partially agree with you on it a little bit, and we'll bring this guy out because he's actually lived overseas. We have even our fastest internet is slower than what the rest of the world has. Is that right? Matt, let that go to you.
Our fastest, well, let's acknowledge WTAN, Tan Talk. Yeah. We're online.
Yeah, let me do all of them quick. 99.1 WDJY in Atlanta, as well as America One Radio, progressive internet station based out of Atlanta. We're also in the Tampa Bay area on 1340 and 106.1 WTAN, 1350, 102.3 WDCF in Dade City. And where's the new one? Down in Pineland, Florida, WZQR. ZQR Talks, the 7 of their 7 stations are the talk station. Out in Las Vegas on K-Shop, 1400 and 107.1 KSHP. We're live across the pond, as we are every Friday, on the UG.media, channel XL, as well as Rainbow Radio, Yergs Radio, and coming soon, Derek and Romaine Studios, formerly of Sirius XM. They've got their own network now, and we're going to be a part of it. Also, the reason why I'm using the overlay with the flag and the Yergs.com, Yergs.com 2.0 went live last night. It's not quite where we want it, and I'm not worried about that. But point being, you can now you soon once again get show notes from that, and coming soon is the new Mastiff.media site. So, why did I do that? Let's bring us all back, or try to. There we go.
Oh, the circles, man. You know what? I don't like the circles.
Yeah.
Get this going, man.
I had to get something that was going to get us all back. So anyway, we're talking about internet and Biden's infrastructure. or in Blake's opinion, lack thereof.
Waste of money. Your question to me was, is our internet slower than the rest of the world? No, it's not. However,
It's not.
uh,
Okay.
I do want to say that the infrastructure thing was a waste of money. I mean, people are like, because it's Elon and whatever, there's satellites up there that can give, broadband to everybody with low latency. And you can do it for a fraction of the cost. So why are we running cable to different places? This is
Right,
silly.
but that's part of the problem with the infrastructure is that the part of the bill says it has to be fiber, and so it costs a lot of money to run fiber to the hills of.
That sounds like regulatory capture and some in government spending just to say we're spending and to make jobs and stuff like that. So if
Right,
you
and
need jobs, just say it's for jobs. Don't
Now
say
we
it's for internet.
Now we need a lot more satellites to be able to do the sort of Starlink thing. I mean, the estimation I saw was
Well, I
that
mean, imagine if the government gave Elon or Blue Origin or any other company that could compete that kind of money. We would have that infrastructure up there.
I agree.
Good
Yeah,
morning, Ken.
I don't know what it takes to launch 30,000 more satellites to do broadband, but it does seem like 42 billion might be in the number of what could pay for it.
I think
don't know.
it'll be very much in the ballpark compared to digging up people's front lawn to run a cable to their house is ridiculous.
Right. Well, especially in rural where you're talking about like there might be one house and then not another one for miles. So
Yes.
this is my point is that this is bad. It's a great goal. It's terribly executed. It's federal bureaucracy at its worst.
100%. And that's the thing is that none of these people, whoever signed off on these bills, and honestly, when this bill got passed 4 years ago, I was livid. And I told everybody, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's my biggest thing about this echo chamber of political party. If it does in the political party and you say, hey, you know what? I don't think this is the best idea. You get dunked on.
Right.
Everybody's going to dunk on you. And I'm running for Congress. So I'm getting dunked on left and right because I said, you know what? Why don't we try to future proof our infrastructure and think maybe 50 years now, not about technology that has been created 20 years ago. And we're going to start running cable to people's houses. That makes no sense. Look, I understand you might not like Elon. I understand you might not think it's a good idea to give all this our infrastructure to a private company. I do get that. But at least let's talk about different ways to do it and not just running cable and for 45 billion.
Right, but the nature of internet access is it is going to be private companies. We don't have the problem that we had with the phone companies in the 70s and 80s where it was just one gigantic, literally monopoly. Like we don't have that problem.
And you grew up like I did thinking that was government.
Right. Well,
100%. Yeah. I thought the AT&T's, this was government. No, it was.
No, and to be fair, like by the time I was, they had broken up AT&T. What was that? 85 or 80? I can't remember what year that
Somewhere
was.
around there, yeah.
It wasn't AT&T. It was Bell, right? It was
Ma Bell, baby.
Yeah, Ma Bell. So
they got those ill communications. Bell. They got the ill communic. Go ahead.
So like,
actually, you know what, Blake? You kind of look like a Beastie Boy.
Maybe I do. I didn't get to take a shower yet today, so my hair is a nightmare. So I'm repping OKC.
Bell,
I can see that you're trying to gloat.
I am.
Wasn't Bell Atlantic one of James Earl Jones's voiceovers?
He did do something for one of
one of the phone companies, wasn't
Southern
it?
Bell.
Yeah, I mean that guy had the voice of
best
voice ever, right? I mean, does anyone Morgan Freeman close, but for me, James Earl
and Roadhouse guy, Sam Elliott.
Oh yeah, he's good too, but he's got a specific Western thing where I feel like James Earl Jones is at home reading the King James Bible as well as doing that Totes My Goats commercial for Sprint. It was hilarious, right? Like it doesn't matter what he says, it has the weight of very seriousness stuff. But yeah, I think this is like one of those things.
I'm so out of touch. I didn't even get that joke. My son had to explain it to me.
That was so funny.
I saw James Earl Jones and what's the guy that he's with? The one guy from Star Trek, I think.
It's the guy. Oh gosh, I can picture it. It's the English guy, and he's I can picture him. I cannot think of his name. Also very proper sounding.
Wasn't he one of the villains from Star Trek?
I didn't watch I wasn't a Star Trek guy, so I don't know on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get what you guys are saying because of the fiber.
Cumberbatch? The only ones I could think of was Cumberbatch, Star Trek.
No, it was the older guy.
Cumberbatch. He's an older Benjamin Cumberbatch.
Oh, you're talking about the original Wrath of Khan guy?
Yes.
Oh, what's his name? Oh, I'll think of it. Give me a second.
Yeah. Because of where I live, in that, we do have actually fiber optic here. I'm loving Frontier. They're one of our affiliates, and if you want to get Frontier for where you're at, let me know. I've got a
Malcolm
link for you.
McDowell,
Yes,
by the way.
yes,
Had to look it up.
Malcolm McDowell.
Very funny commercial. I feel like we don't get as many funny commercials. Am I crazy?
Yeah,
Feels like
Yeah, you're
and-
crazy, dude. It's
creative.
all it is funny commercials. They just try to be funny in every commercial, but they're not funny. It sucks.
Oh no,
hate
I know they're
commercials.
trying
They're
to
not
be funny.
funny.
I'm saying
Right,
that they're
right.
not.
They're not funny, and they're not selling anything anymore either.
I did see
But-
a progressive commercial that I did laugh at and was politically funny. Because have you seen the one where they're talking about like the kid's like, "What's the economy?" and none of the adults can explain what the
Yeah.
economy is, and he's like, "I'll just look it up." I thought it was
Yeah.
I thought it was truthful and funny.
Yep, absolutely. But that's Flo.
Yeah.
Was in some like comedy troupe.
Yeah, she's
when she
making
was
bank
discovered
now.
to do that. And yeah. Somebody told me that she was actually married to Jamie, the redheaded guy that co-stars in them with her.
I have no idea.
I'm sure that's one of the Hollywood rumors. That's not true.
Well, let's not
But-
say Hollywood. Let's be that's generous for commercial for
No,
insurance commercial.
Flo's worth like $14 million.
Oh, I
for
know
making-
she's worth a lot of money. I'm just saying Hollywood. I think movies. I just feel like we've you brought it up in the chat where Hollywood means too much. Let's go back to it just meaning movies, films, Hollywood.
Yeah. Oh, you mean with like the Sylvester Stallone and John Voight? And, yeah.
We're not going back to the golden age of Hollywood for lots of reasons. Trump
Yeah.
putting 3 people in charge of doing that, not bound to make a big difference.
Point being, I'm in a flood zone. And one of the things they cut, immediately when water starts coming up is electric. So I'm got a generator on the way, and we're going to set some of the area of the house up to its own unique circuit, so I can have a minimal amount of service from the generator and stay operational. One of the things I'm actually getting, because internet would actually go down with the electric, Frontier has air internet, where you can get internet at your house. That's all Wi-Fi. That's it. There's no router. Your whole
Man,
house.
that has been around for 20 plus years. I had that in college in the UH.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. But
and-
anyway, you know what else has it? Starlink.
It's true.
Yeah, but Starlink's not as fast as this stuff, supposedly.
Probably not, but it's better than what's in most rural places. I mean, I think that's the thing is, I think that if you're in a city, obviously going with some sort of cable like fiber is going to be the way to go. And that's what we should, but like none of this, we didn't need that in cities. Like cities have broadband broadly.
Right.
Even small cities have broadband. We're talking about, I think it's 20 million people.
I
that
just
live in
want
here.
everybody to notice really quick the master class of starting with internet, going around in circles about other stuff, even talking about Star Trek and coming back to internet. That's a master class in podcasting, ladies and gentlemen, right here on Yerg's Radio.
So-
We're back to it. We got lots of things to talk about other than internet though. So I guess we
Oh,
should probably
Yeah,
get
we
to
do. Yeah, we do. And
What's first,
one of
fella?
the other things, what is he doing? Speaking of Star Trek.
I was wiping my camera off, man. I was a little fuzzy.
Oh, all right.
So
So,
mind your business.
I'll stay in my lane. Like, I don't know, running a show. So yeah, Blake's all upset because the infrastructure isn't as good as what it could be. I'll tell you what, though. I had my Trump supporting baby brother here a couple years ago, and we're coming out of the Walmart onto US 19.
You know how I know you know how I know your country is you call it the Walmart.
the Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's if you put the in front of it.
Yeah, the Walmart. We're coming out, and he says, "Wow, this area over here looks really nice. It's like a flood drainage area that clearly was not there a couple of years ago." So I inch a little forward, and I say, "Look at that sign." And it says, "This flood drainage is part of the infrastructure program of President Joe Biden." And of course, this is a very Republican area, Trump country. Gus Bilirakis is our congressman who hates Biden, but that there's a nice big old Biden sign right aside of the Walmart, who also hates Biden, by the way. And now, of course, my brother's pussy was hurt because he just admitted to liking something from Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, congratulations. You found one thing that Joe Biden did that someone likes.
Someone from the dark side likes. I think that's
I don't understand, Yergs. Why can't both Trump and Biden be bad? Oh, we lost Matt. We can't hear Matt all of a sudden. We'll see if you can figure that out.
Hey, can you hear us? We can't hear you. And no, I didn't mute you either.
Yeah, keep in mind, and my beef with the infrastructure stuff is really not about Biden, although it is because it's his administration and it was Democrat controlled. It's more of a point about the federal government's sort of malaise and the bureaucratic just red tape that is like internet access is not my biggest concern. My bigger concern is like we're not making the military weapons that we need to possibly be in a World War III situation on multiple fronts. Like there are all sorts of slowdown problems that I think I think we don't understand how bad the federal government is at building things now. Yeah. We just don't do it. And it's a bipartisan problem. But
speaking of getting the things right away, I've got to interrupt you because this is just in. According to Ed at WTAN, the guy operating the board there for us, Ricardo Montalban was Khan in Star Trek. And he's right about it. But Malcolm McDowell was in one of the movies.
We could IMDb that, I'm sure.
Was he the scientist, I think, in the one of the last?
Never did Star Trek.
Of the series of movies from the original cast. Anyway, thanks for that, Ed. Big Dog saying, let me in. Oh, you ready? Okay, you fixed your mic issue. Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Oh, by the way, the IMDb was posted by me a long time ago in there. So,
I'm not in that chat.
Just putting that out there that I had your back this whole time, and Matt Big Dog got ignored.
Yeah, Matt had it right.
There's too much else going on. You scrolled up in the private chat.
By the way, Malcolm McDowell was in Star Trek Generations.
Yeah, he was like a scientist or something.
More famous for A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, he was the guy who was. It was the. Oh man, I'm missing my Trek up. What was it?
He was a scientist.
The Nexus. It was the guy who was working on the Nexus. The Nexus scooped him and Kirk up into the other place, and in between, and then Picard had to get him out. And
yeah. Well, now that
that's right.
Glad we now know.
Yeah,
that's right, because Picard goes back in time to talk to the retired James T. Kirk to ask for help.
Exactly. But they got scooped up in the Nexus. And by the way, this is my birthday present. This is how I roll over here.
There it is.
By the way, Ken always trying to start a fight with me. He thinks me saying Morgan Freeman a close second to James Earl Jones is ridiculous. Because
Ken wants to start a fight with you because you're wrong.
Morgan Freeman did on more than one occasion play God.
Right, but I'm not saying, but his voice is more soothing to me, whereas James Earl Jones is more commanding. Like I think he could. Like I don't know. You got for me Darth Vader alone.
Yep, Darth Vader and Mufasa. Yeah,
and what was his character in the Jack Ryan stuff? I'm drawing a blank. I should know this. I'm ashamed now. That
Colonel.
He's the director of the CIA, right?
Yeah.
Eventually. Anyway, love James. Rest in peace.
All right, back on track.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so I think that's a good internet conversation for today.
Yeah, I think that does it. We're basically not building anything. We're spending lots of money, but we're not building anything. That's America in a nutshell.
I do have one last comment on that, by the way.
Yeah,
I have one last comment because there's this whole thing about everybody going over to this Red Note / Xiaohongshu, the Chinese app.
We should talk
because of TikTok being banned.
Yeah,
he killed Kirk. Who killed Kirk? Oh yeah, he killed Kirk. Nexus, yada. Anyway, one thing I thought was really interesting is a lot of people are going on this Red Note, and then they're seeing pictures of like Shanghai and Beijing and Shenzhen and Sichuan, Hong Kong, whatever, or Chongqing, and they're like, oh my God, is this what China really looks like? Oh, is it like this looks amazing? Is this real? So Americans really don't understand. Like China is a pretty dope, modern infrastructured place. That is, and when we say that China is in a lot of aspects out competing us, like I think just that insight into there for a lot of Americans is like is pretty telling, because this goes back to our infrastructure. It's like our infrastructure, we're still trying to figure out like, hey, you know what, how are we gonna officially get our people connected? A lot of people go to the New York subway and go, hey, is this really the United States of America? Do you see this crap over here that people are writing on? And then you have this whole modern amenities just built yesterday, kind of neo metropolises.
That's New York.
Of course, slave labor helps. I mean, that helps significantly in China. You know, when you can
stop. You know, there's no slave labor. There's minimum wages that is constitutional by the government, with overtime pay, paid vacations, healthcare, nationalized healthcare. The labor is cheaper, yes, than the United States. But what do you want to do? You want to get American labor over to China to build their rails? Is that you want to start a union?
I'm saying it helps
in China.
Slave labor. And you're right, slave labor is not being used to do that stuff, but it is being used.
But it's not being used. That was an off the cuff comment, man. And I think, and honestly, that's just an American stupid comments that would be made. Oh, it's slave labor. That's why the cities are so. Stop.
No. It's not an excuse for the cities, but it is how they. I mean, that's where they're using that minimum labor.
What are they using? Wow. I lived there for 20 years. Do you really want to go start on this one with me? You're going to lose this one really bad.
Why do we have the Uyghur Act?
I'm just going to sit here and Google.
We're still like banning certain companies from operating in the U.S. because of we can prove they're using slave labor in
this dude went from cities and infrastructure and internet and roads and building cities that are made on 21st century technology to talking about a province that's in the Northwest that is usually when it comes to cotton and wheat.
Right.
Totally different, two different topics. I understand what you're saying. Yes, Nike is over there making shoes in Uyghur territory with the factories, and it is a thing. The Uyghurs have been. It is honestly a repression, genocide that's happening with the Uyghurs. It's a huge issue.
Yeah,
but don't just start painting China as that they built their whole metropolis off of slave labor.
No, but what I'm saying
is silly, dude.
No, but
don't equate the two.
I'm not saying that.
That's almost like that's kind of like saying like we have bad stuff here because they have slave labor, so therefore let's not talk about it. And that's kind of what you alluded to.
No, what I'm saying is that they're a country that still allows slave labor, and I don't trust anything. Like everything comes down from that. And my point is, when we are still in America saying that everything is. All institutions are racist because we used to have slaves, then to me that's just a dichotomy that I can't figure out. Like why
Travis Evans, are you watching today? Hit us up in the chat if you are, because I think I just found your next. I'm just going to call it this to piss you off, but to piss off Blake. Your next white supremacist guest.
Oh my God!
Tuesday nights at
calling
8
me a white supremacist now?
Wait, what? I want to go there with Blake, bro. That's a little extreme. That's not even right.
Travis' show, and we're working on getting it over to Yerg's Radio. It's 4 black dudes sitting around in squares just like this.
Ooh, and that's a really good point. Actually, wait, but Yerg's, I'm sorry. Hold on. 1 second. Bad Dog made a good point. U.S. prisoners are basically working for free, putting out this fire.
Yeah, I mean,
Blake, come on, man. I mean, you're really trying to tie some nickels and dimes to peanuts and Postmates or something to try to make connections that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about. What I was literally saying, and what my whole point was, is that we banned TikTok, and people from America are looking at these Asian countries, which isn't usual, and looking at these neo metropolises. We're talking about Seoul, Tokyo, Shanghai, Chongqing, Singapore, and saying, "Wow, I didn't know that these backwards countries were."
Well, how did they not know that? They've never seen pictures of Hong Kong. I mean,
well, are you noticing that when Matt gets to pronouncing the Chinese names of the cities, the Chinese accent comes out a little bit?
Well, yeah, no, he's pronouncing it correctly. I would sound like an Oklahoma
Hispanic people talk. It's an Anglican accent like I've got, for example, and then all of a sudden when they pronounce their name,
Shanghai
in their language.
Hong Kong. You got to really put that diphthong in there. You want to get it good.
Malcolm McDowell played Tolian Soren. That's the name, Soren, in Star Trek Generations. He's
yes, good work.
Yep. All right. So speaking of me, fighting 2 captains of an enterprise, TikTok. Speaking of China, the Supreme Court released their decision today, saying that the federal government, can ban TikTok.
It was unanimous, right? 7-0.
I think so. I didn't see that, but
Well,
but
they didn't really write opinions because it was fast. I mean, it was basically they were like,
my
yeah, there's no free
questions
speech.
are: one, why are we worried about banning something that the people who use it are volunteering to use? And two, isn't it too late? Didn't they already steal whatever they're going to steal?
Well, I've got a lot of opinions on this. I think that first of all,
Shocker.
Oh,
I think Trump was right. I think we were right. We should have done this in 2017 when there were 20 million people on it or whatever. I mean, why did we kick this can down the road so far when now there's 170 million Americans on it?
congressional incompetence.
answer
That's
that
why.
question-
Of course.
Didn't you answer that question earlier in this show?
Well, it's congressional incompetence. It's also now I think this bill is written correctly. And look, here's the problem. We have for decades not allowed foreign nationals to own media companies in the United States. That's why Rupert Murdoch had to become a United States citizen to start Fox News. So we've always had a hesitant to let a foreign person be able to control the media that Americans consume. And when I don't know, 80%, I can't remember. I'll try to find the number. Something like 70, 80% of people under 30 are getting their primary news source is TikTok. And there was a study that came out recently. I don't know that we should give a ton of weight to it because I think trying to study this kind of thing when you don't actually have access to the algorithm and the servers is hard to do. But they in their so like take that grain of salt.
What was the alleged study?
Well, it was a university study. It was peer reviewed and it was well done. I'm just saying I think this is a really hard study to do when you're dealing with social media and trying to see what the influence of the Chinese Communist Party is on it. But they found that 80% of the China content on Instagram was negative and only 11% of it on TikTok was. And you go back to the Israel-Palestine conflict, the Gaza stuff, and the Osama bin Laden number. There's been some stuff that's been, I think it's pretty obvious that the thumb has been put on the scale, but it's hard to prove because we don't have access to the algorithm. I think so this bill it doesn't ban TikTok. It says a foreign adversary cannot have control over the data of
They have to sell it.
They have to sell it. I think it's pretty telling that they won't sell it. So instead of their investors getting money out of this, they won't sell it. To me, that proves that the value in it is that the Chinese government has the access to all of that data. And I don't think it's just about the data, although I think that's important, especially when you combine it with like Chinese hacking the Equifax, the big Equifax hack that they did, and
Right.
the federal government one where they got basically almost every federal employee's private information hacked on government servers, right? You're included in that, Jurgs.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So easy to see how the Chinese government could say, okay, we've got these data fields that we can cross-reference. Think about the blackmail that they could do with this. This is one of my big problems with Pete Hegseth is like, I think he's very blackmailable based on his past. I think that's my biggest concern with someone like him. But think about it. You're on TikTok. Maybe the Chinese government knows you are working for the federal government. You're in the FBI. You previously have sent messages to people that aren't your wife. This is all information they have. And I'm worried about blackmail. I'm worried about the ability to put their thumb on the scale. If China invaded Taiwan tomorrow, do you think that a blast would go out on TikTok that says your government's lying to you? This isn't what, like, I think that they would use it for that thing. And I think it's worth.
I'm just going to say, you don't think that's happening already? It's proven that the Russians already did that. It's proven that Chinese tried to do it in 2024.
Russia didn't own the app. Russia was buying ads on Facebook.
I think. Look, here's what I think. There's two things in my opinion. First of all, I want to go back to what I said about the Supreme Court justices. I said 7-0. And I realized that there's 9 justices. It's 9. Yeah. Stupid. Somebody should have corrected me. Poo on both of you for not paying attention and calling me out.
I thought you were talking about because 2 people wrote a different thing, but it wasn't that they didn't agree.
I didn't see that. I thought it was 9-0 and unanimous. Anyway.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about the opinion part.
Yeah, no, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, but no, two things about this TikTok thing.
One, why you're here.
Because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The 3 of us.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, so really quick, I have two opinions about this TikTok thing. Number one, I don't want to have the argument anymore about what China is doing with this data because I don't think anybody knows, and I think that that's a failure of the government and the ban. Is that I think they should have been really transparent.
And I think that's probably why this took so long, is because this has been in the lap of the intelligence community for the past 7 years.
Yeah, exactly. But they should have been really transparent, in my opinion. And I agree, Yerks. They should have been just said like
you
they
can't
should have
be
been transparent. Why not? Say like the Chinese government is doing this and this is unacceptable. Instead of they're just saying like it's a breach of security, and we're like, what does that even mean? And they're like, oh well, they're sliding into my DMs. Like
I
that's
also-
like, oh okay.
With
I also
the
think-
fall, when the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union fell apart.
They didn't have TikTok, but anyway, go ahead.
No. The CIA took it on the chin because they didn't predict the fall of the Soviet Union. Yes, they did. They just kept their mouth shut.
Right.
What are you going to do? Say, hey, here's our biggest enemy and probably the biggest rivalry in world history, and we predict they're going to fall, and here's why. You don't think the Russians aren't going to read that? And
I don't understand what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is for the American people is like if you're going to ban TikTok, you should give us a very transparent reason
Congress
saying
should.
like this is.
I do think some of it we can't know because it's
But-
because look
Sure,
at the
but you could have made something up that made us. Give me a second. Let me get to my second point. The number one is that I think like, hey, we're all speculating and like, oh well, my data, my credit card, my birth date. Obviously, it's more in depth than that. Maybe you're talking about blackmail with sliding into the DMs. That's pretty basic too. Like, what is more? It's they should have been like at least painting us a general picture. That's number one. Number two.
Well, but let's be
Is I
big-
think the biggest number two, I think the biggest point that we should be really asking, and this is where I fall in, is that no American apps are allowed in China. No American internet is allowed in China. And yet for some reason they think they could come over to the American market and take our money, take our data and use our and get into our markets. That is a
TikTok
big
doesn't even-
no in my opinion.
Our
If you
version of
can't let
TikTok
American
isn't
companies into China and do business, you have no business being in our country.
right.
So
And
Full stop.
I said that earlier this week on I think on one of my solo shows, either Tuesday or Thursday, is that if the Trump administration wants to annex Greenland and wants to annex Panama and make Canada the 51st state, let's try that first and see how it actually plays out and how we do it by nationalizing some other territory and taking the Chinese-owned property that's right next door to military bases that we can't even buy
yeah, I think
because of
that should be
proximity
illegal.
to classified information.
I think the problem is like here's what I look at with the TikTok ban because this is one of those things that again we started talking about this in 2017. This has been a long time coming. You look at the people that are on intelligence committees in the House and the Senate. I think they're
not too bright.
unanimous in were the early people saying that it should be banned. I think they clearly know stuff that we do not and we can't know.
Yeah.
But you're right, Matt. Congress could do a better job. Of course, they can't even explain how TikTok works because some of them don't understand how social media or
Well,
Facebook
I mean,
works
this
or anything.
was Alito. He asked the question of the TikTok attorneys, like, how are the users being troubled or damaged when they can just go to another platform?
Right, but I think
Clearly, this dude doesn't know how social media works.
but I think that asks
You get tens of thousands of followers on one platform and it gets canceled. You got to start all over again.
right, but I think keep in mind he's not talking. They're not arguing followers. They're arguing free speech. That was the argument at the Supreme Court that they tried to take was that this was infringing on free speech rights, and that's why that question from Alito is not wrong because we're not saying you
But
can't make
it is
videos.
because if I have X amount of listeners right now for this show, and Tan Talk says, we get too many calls about your comments, and now we're going to lose sponsors.
It's not a First Amendment right that you have for your audience. That's not a First Amendment
But
right.
we are still being infringed
No, they're not.
because everybody knows what we're here talking about. We know this is politics.
The
We know
government
this is differences of opinion.
that's different. If the government
it's
shut down
different.
your speech, that would be. If the government said you can't have a radio show anymore,
Not-
that
yeah,
is
not
an
a private
infringing
talk.
on
That's
your-
what's
Yeah.
happening.
No,
The
W-
government is saying you can't have TikTok.
no. The government is saying an app cannot be owned by the Chinese government, by an adversarial government. That's what they're saying. It has nothing to do. It doesn't matter if it's TikTok. It doesn't matter if it was DoorDash. It doesn't their point is that a foreign adversary cannot own an app and have access to private data.
Boy, wouldn't that be diabolical if they owned DoorDash and poisoned everybody with DoorDash like
Right,
deliveries?
And here's the thing:
Okay.
China is absolutely.
Then let's go back to what Blake said earlier about the incompetence of the federal government.
Yeah.
If China's not allowed to own foreign media, and we already knew that because Rupert Murdoch could no longer be in Australia and he had to be an American now.
Right.
thanks to Ronald Reagan.
Well, he was dual citizen, by the way.
And how did China get? Yeah, I know he's still Australian, or whatever, but then how did China get TikTok in the first place?
Well,
Why do we, people who fought hard to be broadcasting on TikTok, like we are right now, have to be penalized because Congress can't get their job done? And
Well-
if you think they can, let's think about the past 2 years when they couldn't even pick a speaker.
Well, we didn't have, to clarify, the law was for broadcast companies for foreign nationals to own, and we don't count social media companies as broadcasters. It's like it's an FCC situation. Like we don't, or I guess that's partially it's like a bunch of different organizations. We need to reorganize a lot of the bureaucracy because a lot of it doesn't make sense. But so most of the tech has been developed in America. We take that for granted, but the truth is it's not. China just TikTok happened to be the first one that came from another country that took off. And this problem arises is because if you are a Chinese company, the Chinese government has access to all the data, period, no matter what. You cannot operate inside of China. And they do this for foreign companies that want to operate in China too, which is why places like Facebook are not in China. It's not that they don't like Facebook, it's that if they want Facebook to operate in China, they want access to their servers and all their data all the time. And they also want you to not talk about that that's the case. So that's the problem. It's not that like the Chinese government came up with this scheme. Someone built that algorithm, did TikTok. They tried to do this sell to ByteDance and have US investors. But the truth is China still has access to it. By the way, BuzzFeed did have an article about ByteDance did use location tracking to track journalists to try to find their sources. So this is proven to have happened. This is not unheard of. And we do have some proof that they've done it on a small scale. That concerns me greatly. But the real concern is that this is not going to get enforced by Biden or Trump. And that's a bigger question to talk about, how the president can just not do what Congress says they need to do.
All right, I got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the fact that we can probably find smarter cabinets at IKEA and find liquor cabinets fully stocked with less alcohol. 99.1 WDJY, 1340, 1350, WTN and DCF, K-Shop, ZQR. This is the Massive Media Network. We'll be back after this. Hey, what's in your wallet? Well, I'll tell you what's in mine, and it should be in yours. Capital One. My credit card with Capital One has $0 fraud liability for any unauthorized use. 0. Flexible due dates. Look in your wallet. See if it's there. Or go to my Facebook page and click on the affiliate link. You get checked for pre-approval. You can apply for the card and enjoy. I also buyblacket.com. Not this one, because this one has a naughty word on it, but the 2 other mugs that I use during the course of the week, especially on Wednesdays, are from one of our co-hosts. Somebody has come along and is far enough along to have their own merch, and that's Philip Blackett. Go to buyblacket.com/Yergs to get coffee mugs, sleeveless muscle shirts. Matt, you got to check them out. I got good stuff there. And all kinds of, and it's not just all, in fact, none of it is actually Trump stuff, which is refreshing, but some other cool American,
Seems like
pro
Phil's a poser.
teacher, pro vet, pro all kinds of really cool things. Go to buyblacket.com/Yergs for 15% off. And yeah, I just bought 2 really cool mugs. Also, got to talk about this one, Biz Growth. I just spent a good hour on the phone last night with the CEO of this company, buildaspace.com. Or no, sorry, builda.space. That's what it is. Yep, builda.space. They do websites and just a new tech startup out of New Jersey, but they're starting this thing, Biz Growth Collective, that is like Facebook, LinkedIn, Constant Contact, who, by the way, is no longer one of our affiliates for this reason. And just anything you need to run a business, to network, to manage, you name it, it's there, to include Yergs.com 2.0. Scan the code on the screen, or go to bizgrowthcollective.com and sign up. Have an EIN ready. If you don't have one, they'll help you get one. Start your business with them and get operational and either get on the air or do what you got to do. But yeah, so speaking of networking, it seems like that certainly worked for the MAGA crowd because we're going to rubber stamp. Blake's going to get his wish. They're going to just get the rubber stamp cabinet and no real challenge to it.
My wish. Have you been paying attention to anything I've said the entirety of the time that I've known you? I don't like Trump.
You have said that if a president gets elected, unless there's major disqualifications, like drinking on the job or lying to Congress about whether or not that somebody that you could possibly be prosecuting asked on a recorded phone call for 11,000 votes while he was still the sitting president of the United States.
Well, he's the president that got elected again, so that's really kind of pointless. We elected him, which is, I think probably foolish, but given the options, I understand why people voted for Trump this time. I'm not saying I did, but I understand.
You guys swayed me over. I don't think the Democrats performed the entire election cycle as well as they could have.
I don't know if they performed any of it well.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me something they did right.
Red Fox was always good. We're still talking about deep voices. He was kind of scraggly though.
I don't know who Red Fox is. Do I know?
Stanford and Son.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was the dad in Sanford and Son.
I wouldn't call that a deep voice. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he was. He was kind of scratchy, but definitely, what would you say? Noticeable, recognizable.
Okay, so cabinet. Yeah, to be clear, my position is that I think you give presidents the cabinet they want unless someone is disqualified themselves from the job. Unqualified is, I think, dangerous to flirt with, but I don't necessarily think that you just don't give someone.
We're not flirting with dangerous candidates. We're making out with them.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's no there's not
guys making out. FM2 wants to know who created the LGBT agenda.
I would assume the
Klan, the white supremacists.
That sounds like something I don't know we should talk about. I don't care about talking about that.
The agenda. Yeah. Anyway, the point is
FM2 also said something about censor anti-Semitism, and the Jews did something about TikTok. So I'm like,
maybe not someone we should pay attention to.
Who is FM2?
Yeah, maybe
FM squared. This is squared, sir.
Basically, the second you do anti-Semitism, I'm out. That's kind of like it's just, can we not agree that, I mean, if you think the Holocaust didn't happen, I don't need to listen to you, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that's what he said. I'm just saying that's a popular thing. There was a Wall Street Journal article the other day that half of adults don't think it happened, or it's kind of crazy.
And anyway, well, I would anyway, continuing. What were you saying?
We're mumbling. We're mumbling surface level jargon. Hey, we got some hate mail. Woo!
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah,
mumbling surface level jargon. Okay, that's fine. If that's what you think, we can get into the weeds if you want to. So are we talking about cabinet picks now, or at least what we've seen so far this week?
Or maybe quick shot at Matt here. Answer this question for him because you've actually lived there.
Well,
who brought communism to China? I don't know, man.
Mao?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say Mao.
I mean, not Mao. Mao won the war and brought communism to China, but is it communist? I mean, what does define communism in a modern sense or in a literal sense?
Yeah, I love when these assets try and get all philosophical. Like look behind the curtain. Like,
well, these are the same people that are going to say, "Hey, we live in a democracy," and they'll be like, "It's a republic."
Here's the thing, you don't have to.
I say that because that is a different, but it's still you get a choice.
You don't have to.
We know what you're. We all know. It's just so annoying. It's like that's like
Jurgs. You don't have to put the guy's anti-Semitic comment on the screen. Like just not in the future.
No, when I see it on the thing here, I can't see that it was the Star of David. It was just some little.
Okay, well, Yeah, I mean, look, the Jews are not behind everything you don't like. Hitler thought that the
Yeah,
Jews were
exactly.
behind the communism in Russia and the capitalism in the United States. It's bananas. The Jews are just the scapegoat for everyone throughout all of history, literally for thousands of years now. They're the
Great. Let's move
scapegoat for
on.
whatever you don't like.
Great.
Anyway, the point is, the committee people. We're starting to see people in front of committees. Pete Hegseth, probably the most fireworks. Is there even a point to these committee meetings when the filibuster doesn't exist anymore?
That was exactly my beef when you got what's her name sitting there that
that was
she
for
doesn't
Ken.
recall.
Get some guns here. Have the
It's
gun
not
show.
familiar with. I'm like, what else do you got going on that you can't do a little bit of homework to go before the Senate
Look,
and ask questions?
look. Really quick, Yergs. I do want to push back a little bit on that. It looks like, and I watched quite a bit of this. It looks like Pete and a lot of these people, they've really prepared for the attacks on personal life and and all those things. And they were really good at answering those questions and trying to divert them and push them away or answer them. Yet when it came to policy questions, they seem to be lacking, and that just goes because there is more personal questioning than there is policy questioning, and I see that there's a lopsided
because they're not qualified.
Huh? But hold on, don't you think
qualified?
No. I think again that's ineptness of Congress and the committees.
The guy who's being interviewed, I think it's today actually, for the DCI, the Director of Central Intelligence, who has already been the Director of National Intelligence in this same administration, the 1.0 version, which is the boss of the Director of Central Intelligence. So he's actually overqualified for this job because he should be getting the other one back. I promise you, the only questions he's getting are about policy, not his qualifications.
No. There's different qualifications in personal life. Personal life and qualifications are two different
He's
things.
not getting questions about personal life. He's getting policy questions.
Right, but don't you? Here's my theory on all this. The only reason any of this matters is Democrats are trying to get clips for social media,
100%
fundraising,
100%.
and the nominees are doing the same thing. So why, if you're a Democrat, why even ask the personal question? Why not? Because he's going to be prepared for that. I just think that it's Sarah Isgur called it confirmation kabuki, because that's really what it is. It's like
it 100% is. This is all 100%. I agree with you, and it's like they're just doing this for the clicks. They're doing this because they want to smear somebody for X, Y, or Z, like personal life. Honestly, I don't care about him and his wife's relationship.
I do.
I don't.
I
really don't.
I think his sleeping around and his sort of sex pest behavior,
I mean, look,
does open you up to potential like. I think it also
that's fair. That is fair. That is fair. I honestly don't care that much about it. It's like we're taking this, and I think that he put it back the best. He's like, are you seriously talking about like you never seen a senator come over here and do votes at late at night drunk, and you're telling me that senators aren't sleeping around and stuff like that? It's like you guys pot meat kettle.
It's hypocrisy.
You're doing this for and that's what gets me. It's just like we see through this BS, man.
But here's where I think
you do the job and ask those questions?
Here's where I think the real hypocrisy.
But lastly, just for me on the campaign trail, I know exactly where he's at with this, and I'm not defending him by any means. What I am trying to say is like I just don't like this whole like we're just jump down. I prepared when I go on the campaign trail I knew what people were going to ask me, and every so often somebody asked me a question that I didn't think about or I figure out how to prepare. And they're like, well, you should prepare next time. You should have prepared. You're not ready for it. And it's like, nobody has ever asked me about whatever you just asked me. Like
there's not
most people ask me about
in this job either. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to have resources that I can use in the job. No one's going to pop a question on me that without looking for the answer, give me the answer.
Exactly.
Like that's ridiculous. It's not.
However, the Pam Bondi one was the 14th Amendment.
Oh. Yeah,
that was wild.
Yeah, some of this stuff is. Here's where I really think this is. I think the reason that specifically they had trouble with Pete Hegseth is that I think everyone in Washington, especially in Congress, they all want to be pundits. That's essentially what the whole thing is. Everyone wants to be on TV. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone wants to have zingers. And they're almost like writing backward. And so, but what I also think they know is that he's an actual pundit. Like his job before he got nominated for this is he's on Fox News. I think what they know is that he like take the women in combat thing. I think what they realize is that sometimes people that are pundits on TV exaggerate, even if they're like maybe that there's a kernel of truth there. And what he really believes is we shouldn't lower the standards to allow women in combat roles. Like that's fine, but that's different than saying women should be not in combat roles, period. But I think that to be on Fox News, you've got to take it to that level. But they're doing the same thing in Congress. And I think what they realize is like they're all doing this. So we can't really call out that he's being performative when we're being performative. And so we just all keep allowing it because we make more money, we stay in power. And this fight is actually what people want. Just look at the headlines after the Hegseth thing. Every Democratic.
That's the point that I was making, was that if Doge is going to come through and cut waste, especially financial waste, why are we paying for these hearings to take place when we know what's going to happen?
Well, paying. I mean, these are not like this. Their job is to be there. I mean, this is not.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't we send them to the floor to just debate this right away? Because we all know what the answers are going to be. Vote these knuckleheads in, and let's get on with this. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem performative. I want them to be things that matter. And I think they did used to matter when you had to get 60 votes because you had to convince some Democrats if you were a Republican administration and vice versa. And keep in mind, these used to get soared through with 90 votes in the Senate, a lot of them. This was not this huge contentious thing. But now it basically has turned into no Democrat will ever vote for a Republican nominee and no Republican will ever vote for a Democratic nominee, which will be very interesting, by the way, if it ever happens that the president wins and doesn't hold the Senate. We've not seen that happen in these modern times, but what will happen? Will they just get none of their cabinet? But I do think that there will be potential problems with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. just because I don't think most Republicans trust either one of them. They were Democrats 5 minutes ago. They have views that are contrary to everything the Republican Party has stood for forever, even in the ways it's changed with Trump. It goes against a lot of that stuff. So I think they might have problems, but therefore they can't put up a big fight about Pete Hegseth, even though I think he is unqualified for the job and will do a bad job. But it's almost like you have to just let him fail. And I'm kind of okay with that because I think we have too fond a memory of Trump's first term because of the adults that were surrounding him. And he's clearly not going for those people this time. So I think we should just let him flounder. It does concern me as an American that, I think the Secretary of Defense is a really important job, but I'm also concerned that it came out this week that Secretary Austin was on medication that could, give him cognitive problems. Like he wouldn't be able to operate machinery. I don't love that, there's not that should have been more forthcoming. I didn't like that he was in the hospital and we didn't know anything. So these are problems that are real, but I wish the Senate took their job more seriously. It doesn't feel like they do right now on this stuff.
All right, as we wrap up hour number one, for those of you on 99.1 WDJY are about to get cut, the Tan Talk Network, 1340 and 106.1 WTAN, and 1350, 102.3 WDCF, as well as K-Shop in Vegas, 1400 and 107.1. I think ZQR stays with us. I don't know. UG.media is going to stay with us, Rainbow Radio and Yerg's Radio and the rest of the network, social media and everywhere else. Switch over to Yerg's Radio, YERGZ. You see my name there in my name. Also, I can put this up. Go to yergsradio.com. And I think it's actually now, maybe, I don't think that's the right link on yergs.com yet. We got some wrenching to do on that still. But go to Yerg's, YERGZ, radio.com, or to our Facebook platforms, the different pages that we've got for the show, for the station, for the company, all of which are playing the show right now. Join us for hour number 2 when we talk about, where did it go? The ceasefire in Gaza. Bibi has approved it, and we'll see how long that lasts. What else did we have? I forget. I got something else. I just don't have it on my list yet.
I mean, we could talk about Biden since it'll be the last time we talk about him for a long time if we want to. I mean, just to kind of.
We already talked about infrastructure. Oh, he actually holds the record on the number of of pardons. Did you see that?
No, but again, not surprising when you just give out 1,500 at a time.
Well, hey, remember you rubber stamped his cabinet. Nobody's there to push back.
Well, that's not about cabinet. It's about maybe we should make it not be able to be pardons between election day and inauguration day or something, because it's getting out of hand.
There was something. Oh, the fires. Yeah, the fires are sort of under control, but not really. So, what do we got? Yeah, we're almost there. So, yeah, 1 minute. There it is. Good timing. Join us on Yergz Radio, YERGZ radio.com, and we'll be back right after this.
What's that smell? In my studio, it's Aroma by Peter. Scented wax candles with long-lasting wicks that make your place smell amazing. And don't worry, guys, plenty of scents for you too. For us too. So go to aromabypeter.com.
Oh, hold on. One more.
What are you doing later? I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to the gym, but not just any gym. Momentum Fitness and Wellness. Walk right up to the door. There's a QR code on the door. You can sign up right there. You've got no excuse. But not only that, their equipment is amazing. It's kept up well. It's expanded. There's stretching area. There's CrossFit. There's hardcore training. A dedicated area for stretching, dunk tanks, sauna, everything you need to get that Hernando beach body or keep your Clearwater beach body. You can train with your shirt off, you can scream, you can yell, and you won't be intimidated either. Go to Momentum Fitness and Wellness on US 19 in Bayonet Point, Jasmine Estates. Build the momentum.
All right. So, hour number 2, we've got peace in. We've got actually one of them actually made me smirk a little bit. We've got peace in the Middle East.
Well, let's not go that far yet, Yergz.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the potential for people to stop shooting at each other in 2 small parts of the Middle East.
And a concept. I do got to put this one up because this one's actually funny. But they like the commercial, and I highly recommend go to aromabypeter.com/Yergz. And I don't know what it'll give you off, but yeah, now that we're in era number 2, we can have a little bit more fun. But my Peter aroma, I thought that made me giggle a little bit, and bad dog liked it. Blake's getting a joke. Matt's still asleep.
Didgeridoo.
Yeah. Didgeridoo. That's going to be like
I sent a link to you guys in the Facebook chat that I think is real, by the way.
My Facebook chat is acting up on my computer today. I don't know why.
I think that it's real, and I'm still not sure, and I had to share it with you.
No
Okay.
way.
I
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. Hard to tell. What are we talking about next? Are we talking what, Biden or fires or what? I mean, I think we should talk about Biden just because I think.
throw it up on the screen, Yergz. Let's debate this real quick. Is this real?
The radio listeners are like, "What the heck?"
All right, so, that's not good. Turn that down.
That's loud. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think there's a little bit of a glow behind.
So for radio listeners, what we're doing is we're watching a Fox report from the governor Kathy Hochul's state of the state address, and beforehand there is a dance crew that is It's I don't even know. I don't know if it's real or not, man. I don't even
I
want to
think
say
it is
anything.
real, but what's funny is that it's like a
They've
song.
got their Hakeem Jeffrey sneakers on.
Well, it's like a song from the early 90s, and every dancer on stage has also learned these dances in the early 90s because they're all 50 plus. Like every and they're not bad dancing, actually. It's not bad. It's just very weird to have it the state of the state.
Poorly coordinated. I mean, let commenting on the arts to the gay guy. Poorly coordinated, and clearly it's been a while.
You know, it's but whatever. If that's the I love that, yeah, New York's like, hey, state of the state. There's some people dancing. Don't pay attention.
I just
to,
look. The Democrats are trying to change their brand image, and this is not the way forward. That's all I'm trying to say.
I think, Matt, I think that's an interesting thing to talk about. Actually, is that you're seeing post November's loss by like. And keep in mind, it's not that Kamala Harris got hammered. Like, this was not the just sweeping victory that Trump and his minions make it out to be. But Democrats got hammered. Like across the board, they lost places that they gained before. It was for any Democrat that claims it wasn't bad for Democrats overall as a party, I think is delusional. But it is interesting to see this sort of fighting that's starting to happen between sort of the progressive wing and the more centrist people, and even just everyone trying to figure out, like, you know, is it class? Is it race? Is it like, what is it? And they got to figure it out quick.
They're trying to look, see, and this is, and again, I just want to go back to Bernie, like him or hate him. He said the most obvious thing that everybody was, it's why don't you run on the issues that people care about? That's what he said.
Yeah.
And so, one of my frustrations from this week was Joe Biden. Joe Biden, in his whatever leaving speech, he said, hey, you know what, Congress, maybe you shouldn't stock trade. He said, hey, you know what we should do do X, Y, or Z. And it's like, dude, I literally ran for Congress on this. There have been people screaming for somebody to say something about this for years. And then on your way out, you had 4 years, brother. On your way out, you're going to say, hey, you know what? This is bad. You've been in Congress for 50 years. I know. Like, come on, man. We could have ran on banning congressional stock trading, make it refining campaign finance. We could talk about the oligarchs in air quotes, and all the money into politics. But you did it on your way out of the door, handing this over to Elon Musk and Donald Trump. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing?
Biden is trying to cement his legacy with a couple of speeches, and it's all fabrication, like all of it. It's like, I joked on Instagram on a reel yesterday. I was like, does he think it's 2021? Does he think he just got into the White House and he's saying we should do this stuff? Because he had Democratic majorities in the House and Senate. He could have said, we are passing a law that says Congress members can't pass.
Didn't even talk about it.
Didn't even talk about it. Like, literally brought it up this week is the first time we've heard him say this. I am infuriated by it because I think he's trying to whitewash his legacy, and I think one of the worst presidents. I think he's worse than Carter. I think that, like, history will show that Carter did, even though Carter gets crapped on all the time, and I think for good reason, he actually did some stuff like with deregulation and some stuff in government that I actually think was good, and sort of the right path, especially with all the stuff that happened in the 70s. But Biden, I can't find a thing that he did. He talks about stuff. He talks about respecting institutions unless he doesn't like what that institution did. And he talks about, oh, we've got the oligarchy, but it's like, well, you're fine with George Soros being a billionaire that supports you. You just don't like the other billionaires that support the other guy. Like, if you really have the conviction here, then have the conviction. But you should have been saying this 4 years ago, or like you said, 50 years ago. He's been in service 100%. For 50 years.
It's very disappointing. It's discouraging.
On a bunch of different things in those 50 years. So to say that he needs to say something from 50 years ago that he didn't believe 50 years ago.
No, I'm not saying you can't evolve, but I'm saying
I know
it on the last couple days of your administration and pretend that, like, these are the things America needs to do, when, like, the stock trading thing was obvious 4 years ago. It was obvious 20 years ago. He knows this stuff. He's trying to pretend that he's holier than thou, and he's not. He's a liar. He is not good with institution. He does illegal stuff all the time. He wants to be a dictator too. That's why he did.
Stop.
I'm going to sign executive orders for everything that I disagree with what Congress doesn't do or what the Supreme Court says. That's what his mode of operation was. That was also Trump's before
Trump
him. It
has
was Trump
100 executive orders on the plate for
So
Monday.
So did Biden. This has been the escalating thing since George W. Bush. It absolutely has been, Yergs. It's the just the way the presidency works, and it's because we have given too much importance to the presidency. That is the truth.
No. We haven't given too much importance to the presidency. We the people are the bosses of Congress, and we keep allowing them to not do their jobs.
Right.
And we
That's
keep
true.
electing them no matter if they're not doing their jobs. The
Right.
fact of the matter is Congress is an inept. Congress is feckless. Congress doesn't do the job, and Congress does not act when they should be acting. And we've allowed them to keep doing that, and we have people in there for 50 years taking $200,000 a year, just keeping on doing whatever they want with their big donors and whatever. The fact is Congress's job here. So there's two branches that are doing their job, in my opinion: the Supreme Court and the executive branch. And Congress does not do crap.
I actually don't think the executive branch is really doing their job either. I think they're over and over again. We're seeing the Supreme Court strike down things that presidents are doing, which to me proves that the presidents are stepping outside the law. They know they're stepping outside the law, and
I disagree. It's like, but you have to step outside the law if one branch is not doing their job.
No,
it's like, okay, fine, then I'll do an executive order.
That is not how our Constitution is set up.
But I'm sorry. Then it's okay. So your Constitution is made for stagnation.
If that's what has to happen,
stop, Blake. That's what the court's for.
No, the court is not.
The 47th president that tried to perform a coup, and nobody's paying attention to the 14th Amendment at all.
Yeah, I don't think the 14th Amendment applies to this. I don't. I mean, I know reasonable people can argue otherwise, but I think it was the Colorado case the Supreme Court saw. I think they got it right. I don't think there's any way that you can have a state or I don't think that's the disqualification. Now, we are responsible for having elected Trump. I think if Trump does bad things,
how is causing a coup for an amendment that was written immediately after the first, not the one that's going on now, but the first American Civil War? How is causing a coup not effective or not pertinent to the 14th Amendment?
It's not the same as like making the Confederate Army and declaring war, and you're going to separate from the Union. It's just not the same what happened on January 6th. January 6th was really bad. I'm not saying it wasn't.
That's why the court got it wrong, is because we're not in 1861 anymore.
I don't think they got it wrong. First of all,
Donald
the court hasn't
not going to fire on Fort Sumter when he already attacked the Capitol. It's the same thing.
I know, but like the letter of the law does matter, and Donald Trump did not attack the Capitol.
No, the Constitution is one of the greatest documents in history because it's adaptable.
Of course, but by a certain specific process, and there's nothing that I don't think the 14th Amendment can disqualify.
Yergs, that's it. I'm putting my foot down now, Yergs. Take yourself and move yourself to the left. I'm going in the middle. You're done. Move to your left. Get out of here.
The Constitution is adaptable, but it like there's a process for it, and frankly, if Congress can't pass a budget, I don't see. I mean, a constitution.
So somebody's got to do it, right? Isn't that what we kind of?
The states could do it. Yeah, the states could do it, and that would be fine. And I think they would. I mean, I think that you talk about stagnation. Like, would we just allow that to continue? I think at some point, look, California. I think the fires are a good example. I do think we're going to see a shift in how California voters. What they demand from their government. I think that we're going to see that this was bad enough that they're going to go, you know what? We want you to do the basic stuff that government's supposed to do. And that's what's important to us first, primarily more than DEI, more than having female firefighters.
This ain't the first major series of wildfires that LA or any part of California.
This is going to do more damage than any other.
They're going to continue sitting around. Sorry for the analogy, but they're going to continue sitting around a campfire and singing "Kumbaya," and they're going to rebuild, and they're going to be ready for the next. That's why I'm building up here, because I know another flood is coming.
I don't think so.
Look at this. This is my house. That used to be my bedroom behind me.
No, I know.
Those on the radio showing a studded up wall that has no drywall on it because I had to rip it off because it was soaked.
But I think what you've got to understand is people once things affect their lives, and $250 billion of damage is currently the estimate, I think, right now on this specific, which is going to be the most expensive wildfire ever. It's probably going to be one of the most expensive natural disasters ever. I do think people are going to go look like why, like, again,
You know what's wild? That Elon could actually pay for all the damage and still be in the top 10 richest people in the world.
yeah, it's like half of his. Well, of course, he doesn't have
Isn't that crazy?
to be fair and stuff like that. I mean, there's all sorts of caveats there, but you're right. He could, but I mean, I think this is going to be something where we go, like, the onion is going to get peeled back a little bit more on this one of like, okay, why did the insurance companies leave? Well, it's because California said there's a cap on how much they could charge when they can't make any money because they know these wildfires are going to happen. And then we're talking about tax money coming into it. I think there's going to be a lot of
leave. They didn't leave. They just don't write fire policies anymore. The same thing's happening here.
Some of them had to
get new flood insurance. Try and get new flood insurance. If I didn't have insurance, if I didn't have flood, hurricane, and homeowners insurance built into my mortgage, 60% of the $3,000 a month I'm paying right now.
Right, but that's what we've got to have a conversation about in this country is, are we willing to subsidize? And by that, we mean like taxpayers are just going to pay for people to live in areas where these things happen, and without them taking the risk themselves. And that's what's happening.
That's not happening either. That's not happening either because FEMA runs the flood insurance that still exists here,
right?
To
but
include to subsidize what isn't covered by the flood insurance.
Right, but why are we subsidizing? Like, this conversation is going to have to happen. Right, but that conversation.
I don't get it because I'm getting screwed. My very next door neighbor got all kinds of things repaid. We have identical floor plans almost. Yet I was denied, did not get a penny. They were paid in full for the interior of their house that they were missing and will now have replaced.
Right. The problem is when government tries to do price controls, it doesn't let prices do the things that it's supposed to do, which is say, if you want a house on the beach in Florida, you are either, like, for example, like Rand Paul had a thing in Congress the other day where he was showing all these celebrity houses that are they qualify, these $4 million, $20 million houses that qualify for government subsidized insurance for flood or fire and things like that, because they're in areas. That's ridiculous. Like, it is ridiculous that we're subsidizing Matt Damon's $20 million house because insurance companies go, hey, it's going to be X amount of dollars. And they're like, well, we can go through the government instead. My point is, you got to let prices do what they do, which will either demand that people don't live in those areas. Because the truth is, fires have been in where LA is prehistorically, like 11, I think we talked last week, 11 million acres, 4 to 11 million acres a year is what they assume was burned every year prehistorically. So this is not climate change. It's not people. This is lightning causing wildfires.
It's climate change.
I just said prehistoric. Prehistorically.
No,
prehistorically.
Are you comparing the prehistoric number that you gave?
No,
to what's happening now?
I'm saying that's huge. And my point is, fires. We built a giant, one of the most populous cities in America in an area that 11 million acres a year burned before there were even people there. So you are taking a risk. My point is, we need to not subsidize that risk. And it's the same in Florida. It's the same, honestly. On these predictable places. I mean, some would say in Oklahoma, maybe it's the same things, that tornadoes are not predictably pathed in areas. Every part of the country has natural disasters. It's just like, are we going to let someone build a house in a flood zone, for example? I think the smart thing is to say, if you want to build a house there, fine. But we're not subsidizing when it goes away. If you can get insurance, great. If you can't get insurance, you better be able to cover it by yourself.
Here's where your statements, I don't know what to call it, ignorant, uneducated, missing a lot. I'm in that flood zone.
That's so mean.
Why do you have to be?
Because I got two G's. I want to be on a boat, but I'm in a space that has been safe. The last time water came up over these seawalls was in 1992 for what's called the no-name storm. The storm happened so fast, the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center had no time to name it before it was actually a hurricane.
Yeah, we're a lot better at predicting these things now, obviously.
And it came through. No, it was that day. It's like it's 72 degrees and sunny, and all of a sudden, Here it comes.
Right. I'm saying we've gotten
That's
like
literally how fast
in
the
the
no-name
30
storm
years,
came.
we've gotten a lot better
That
at
was the
predicting.
last time. That was the last time water came over these seawalls at the level it did until 2 years ago when we got hit by Idalia. And then this year we got hit by Debbie and Helene and Milton. It just multiplied by 5 in 3 years. So we had nothing leading into this that I was going to replace and lose everything and replace something in less than 5 years of living in the house. There's nothing telling us that. Now there is. But now there's thousands of, I could stand on the one intersection 7 houses down from me. I'm not going to say the intersection because I don't want people to know where I live.
Yeah, I would not
But
do that.
In a predominantly rural area, like you talked about before, and it's like suburb. It's not like farm rural. It's, you know, my next door neighbor's house is 10 feet away from the outside of my garage door. I stood at that intersection after Idalia, and I went on realtor.com. There were more than 200 homes on the market within a mile of that intersection. 1 mile to the east is US 19. 1 mile to the west, you're 3/4 of a mile into the Gulf of Mexico. And I'm sorry, it will never be the Gulf of America. It's the Gulf of Mexico.
It can be if the naming commission changes it, but
Boo. Boo. Gulf of America. Boo. Yes.
I will draw my own map.
Draw
But
your
and-
own
and
map.
that's-
I'm calling it Gulf of
It's
America
fine,
starting
I don't
now.
think it's
Gulf
gonna-
of America.
I think that's probably what we're going to wind up talking about next week because we know this
all the
asshat's going
grocery
to try.
prices will go down if he names it Gulf of America, guys. It's obvious.
So
But
wait,
would
why
be-
is that a big deal if we call it Gulf
No,
of America?
hold on. You guys get to finish a thought. It's my turn.
Man, I haven't even talked for 20 minutes.
I know, Blake. But point being is that everybody's here and nobody expected that to happen. When somebody called BS, I can say bullshit now. When somebody called bullshit, I went back on realtor.com and there were 300 or more houses on the market.
Does
from
that mean
spot.
people are moving? Is that what you're saying?
That means
Because-
people are that
That's
means people were not expecting this. Yeah. And they put they put homes on the market because they don't have the insurance, most of them. I know 6 houses on this street that are surviving solely because of FEMA, because they have no homeowners insurance of any
Yeah,
kind.
but what my point is, we have to have okay, global warming. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about climate change because I think it's important to say, look, if we think this is going to happen, you have to plan for it. Like you have to adapt
Yeah.
to it, right? So my point is, I don't think taxpayers should be subsidizing houses that get hit over and over and over again with natural disasters, especially if the government's not going to better prepare and prevent those disasters from happening. There's no, like Nashville, the flood that happened there in like, what was that, 2010, 2011? That was like a 1 in 1,000 year storm. That is not the problem I'm talking about. The problem I'm talking about is if the houses on the beach get hit by hurricane all the time, at some point someone has to go, look, if you're rich enough to have the $20 million house that's right on the beach, you can cover building that house again or buying the expensive insurance. What I don't like is
100%.
states saying, here's what's happening in California. California said, here's the cap. You can't charge people more than this. And insurance goes, well, we can't do that. The risk is too high.
Yeah, but here's the thing about the rich people that lost their homes. None of them are saying about wanting to make an insurance claim. In fact, a bunch of people who are celebrities have said, stop putting the camera on me. Put the camera on the average family 2 hills over that also lost everything, that's got no way to rebuild it.
Right. But the problem, like I said, is the government saying you can't be in this market if you don't charge if they're artificially trying to lower prices. Price controls don't work.
It's the libtard, we're going to put a Band-Aid over a bullet wound thing, and we're going to think that it's a good solution. That's the far left that I also don't like.
Well, and look, this
But
is not just a left
break.
thing.
When we come back,
Price
I gotta
controls.
take a break. Break. Take a breath. Do you actually breathe, by the way?
Just,
just
yeah,
don't-
much better than I used
He
to
has a
because I've got my
snorkel.
deviated
He
septum.
has a snorkel out the back. That was part of his surgery. He just put a blowhole on the back of his neck so he
He's
can
got
continue to
fins.
talk.
I do that psycho breathing that Kenny G
Exactly.
does to play saxophone notes for forever.
Ugh. When we come back, Bad Dog actually has a good question. Who are our picks for president if we had, so choose?
We're talking
I
like
think
right
that's
now? I think that's a good question.
Yeah. Who do you
Actually,
you
it says,
think?
does anybody have a suggestion of who would be the best president for the United States if out of all U.S. eligible citizenry
exactly.
yeah. So I think that is a good question.
Yeah, we should do that one.
Exactly. So, we'll hit that when we get back. You're listening to Up the Middle on the Mastiff Media Network. We'll be back after these words.
Hey, what's in your wallet? Well, I'll tell you what's in mine, and it should be in yours. Capital One. My credit card with Capital One has $0 fraud liability for any unauthorized use. 0. Flexible due dates. Look in your wallet. See if it's there. Or go to my Facebook page and click on the affiliate link. You get checked for pre-approval. You can apply for the card and enjoy.
Well, I guess I got to go back to the center because our center, somebody's got to balance us. He's not there. So Bad Dog asks, does anyone have a suggestion as to who would be the best president for the U.S. out of all U.S. eligible citizenry?
I think the first thing that you talk about is what are the qualifications we would want for that person? Does that make sense? Like, I think that's where people should think about like who they want for a politician. It's not not a person, but what are the things that you
what a
want them to
concept. We actually think of who might be able to handle this job for 400,000 each.
And who has like what principles do you care about? What these are the things that I think we've turned all politics into who can we have a beer with, and I just think I think it's proven that it's not worked very well for us. I think that there's always been corruption in politics and stuff, and there's always been bad politicians. I mean, look, to pretend that there's ever been some sort of apex of Congress working totally the way that it should, I think that's revisionist to think that that's the case. But and presidents, obviously, as history fades.
Well, then in everything that you're looking for, wow, that's like deep. Matt looked like he was really far away for a minute, and then all of a sudden he grew. Yeah.
I think for me, it's a combination of what I want is a president that actually cares about the Constitution, like not just says it and then doesn't care at all about it. I mean, like actually cares about it and cares about Congress working better. I think that that's the key. As like you'd have to have a Speaker of the House and a president that are on the same page about Congress getting its act together, and I think that's a hard combo to find in America. I'm sure there are lots of people that would do it well. I think most of them don't want the job, though. I think that's the problem. There's a lot of people that I would say, oh, they'd be, I think, great at this. I think they're not interested in being in politics like in this day and age. But are we pretending that we could just like wave a magic wand and make it happen potentially? Because I think most of the people that we would like couldn't get elected.
Well, I think part of it is that they would have to. One, I think this goes back to something else I was right in. Not only are you electing the person, but you're electing the people that he's bringing to or she is bringing to the table in the form of a cabinet, other administrators, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but you're really electing that person's management style.
Yeah, but if we're not electing Joe Biden, who spent essentially his entire adult life in federal government and governing in federal government, not just some job. If we're bringing in somebody like Donald Trump, then we've got to make sure one of the things that they do is listen to the people around them.
Yeah, that's just really hard to know up front, and I think the reason I disagree with like your election.
Look at what they've done. Look at what they've done previously to determine that. I think 3 people immediately come to mind who would be successful because of the fact that they listen to and put value in the people that work with them and work for them. One is not an option, because he's dead, and that's the late Steve Jobs. Yeah, he was kind of a dick. Yeah, he was a bit of a boss, but he did put value in the people who could do things that he couldn't.
Because he only hired
Like-
really smart people.
Yeah, and that's his saying. He says you don't hire smart people and then tell them what to do.
Yeah.
You hire smart people to tell us what to do.
Now, I don't
And so I
think
think
that
that's exactly what he would have done as president.
I don't think a CEO of any company is going to be happy being the president because of the constraints of the Constitution that are on them. I just think that
We're not
that's
talking about happiness. We're talking about qualifications.
well, right. But I'm saying I don't know that they could do the job.
Clearly an ideal world, too, where none of this is going to happen. But all right, before I give my other two, you guys go with one. Who do you got?
I
would
think that
say-
was a really good one.
Yeah, I would say Ben Sass, who's not in politics anymore. I just think that his writing and his talks about like how seriously he took the Constitution. He also had some really good op-eds about some Senate reforms specifically and House reforms that he thinks are necessary to make Congress work again. So it's someone who's actually seriously thought about, because he's been there. He's been in the Senate. And I think he had some really good ideas that I think were outside the box too. Like one was like, he thinks all the senators should live in a dorm together. Essentially, he's like, the more you hang out with people, the more, I don't know. It's just like there's a working. He had some really good ideas.
That is why Google, Apple, a couple of the other big tech companies out in the Silicon Valley have on campus cafeterias that supply free lunch to the employees or free meals, free breaks to the employees.
Yeah.
Because they figure if you stay here, it's a 10-minute walk at minimum or drive at minimum to go out for lunch. That's 10 minutes back. And it's at least, if all you have is a 30-minute lunch, you're going to take more than that because you got to eat. Or you're going to bring it back to your desk and be alone and not be with anybody else either. So they figure,
to be perfectly honest, real production people, they don't really care about taking lunches and they're having that 30 minutes off of work. They're working while they're lunching.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
to be perfectly honest.
That's the point. So if they have that facility on property, Blake's going to walk up to me and say, Yergs, I'm going to lunch. You ready to go?
Yeah.
And we're going to go down to the company cafeteria and get free sushi. One of the top 50 sushi chefs in the world works at Google.
That's what my wife was a chef at an oil company here, and they had restaurants. It wasn't free, but it was as cheap as, I mean, it was like, this is obviously like 2008, 2009, but I mean, it was like $4 for a meal. I mean, it was crazy and it was good.
When you and I go to lunch together, Blake, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about the basketball game last night?
Maybe.
Or are we going to talk about that and probably our next episode?
Well, and even then, it's like, so I think there's just a lot of structural things that need to change and a lot of mentalities that need to change, but you'd have to have a president and a speaker of the House that are willing, that are both all in for that change. And I think one of the big problems that we've had is, I think one of the big problems that we've had is that you look at Biden and basically, really any victory that Biden has, he owes to Nancy Pelosi, really, I think. And any victory that Trump had, he really owes to Mitch McConnell in his first administration. But neither one of them are actually willing to say that. In fact, Jill Biden now is like so mad at Nancy Pelosi, as if like she still thinks that Biden could have been the president for a second term or won that election. I think it's delusional, but
he said that, which I thought was not a good thing to do.
Yeah, and so look, the Democrats owe all of the functionality that they've had over the last decade, they owe to Nancy Pelosi, in my opinion. And she's a very smart politician. I disagree with her on a lot of stuff, but she's good. She was good at the job and she understood.
Well, I guess that's why we can't ban that stock trade now, can we?
Well, I mean, I think maybe she still would have done a good job even without the stock trading stuff. But my point is that we're not giving enough credit to the people that are actually doing the jobs well, in my opinion. And we're not rewarding the people that are actually going in there and being serious. Mike Gallagher is another great congressman that left because, he got on the wrong side of Trump. And that's the problem, is that all the good ones have left. And until a president comes in and instead of saying my way or the highway, they say, here's the goals I want to do for the country. Here's the things I want to do. Here's what I want to work with Congress on. Here are the important priorities. One, to go back to Biden, like one thing that I think he could have done, I think his mandate was to not be Trump, right? And to not let Trump have a second term, which he's failed at because now Trump has a second term. Biden could have spent all 4 years going, we're going to rein in the executive branch. He could have done that. He could have said, I know I'm the president, but as a former senator, I think the power lies in the Congress, and we just witnessed what is.
You're stuck on that.
No,
yeah,
but what I'm saying is
the whole equal levels of government.
Well, I know, but everyone's worried about what Trump's going to do. You call Trump a dictator all the time. Don't you think it would have been smart for Biden to rein in some of the executive power so that Trump can't use it? I think
the FCC earlier this week released a couple of cases that were before them for that reason. But before we go, Matt, who do you like? Who's your nominee for president?
I kind of agree with you. Jobs.
Yeah, he's dead, unfortunately. But I mean, there are probably other people.
I got two, and it makes a balance because they're politically from each side of the spectrum. Conservative, donor, incoming ambassador to Italy, where this one I have no ideas where it's coming from unless he wants to vacation there for no other reason. Conservative owner of the Houston Rockets, Tillman Fertitta, is also, I think, from what I've seen, particularly obviously on his show, $1 billion buyer, somebody who listens to other people, his own people, contractors, types that are selling him something and whatever else, and then makes a decision from that. And on the left, somebody who's very much the same way, also has the necessary temper to handle things on a military and global level, and that is now, of course, I'm brain farting on his name, from the NBA, actually, from the Dallas Mavericks.
Cuban,
Mark Cuban.
What's interesting about Cuban, so there's the unrealistic thing. Like, I don't think Ben Sass wants to be president, so I don't think he'd run.
No, none of the people we mentioned for the.
However, no, I actually think Mark Cuban.
Two reasons. One, they don't want a smaller paycheck, and they don't want a smaller house.
Yeah, but Mark Cuban's interesting because I do think there, unfortunately, now is like a celebrity factor that has to happen for president, which is, I think, ridiculous. I think that that's the worst group of people that we could go after is celebrities. They're kind of.
You know what, though? I don't you think that was part of the reason why George Washington was selected?
Well, the commander of the army is a little different celebrity level. It's like Eisenhower is the same thing. You go, okay, you just got us victory in World War II. Like, you're a celebrity because you did something. My point is, most celebrities didn't do anything. They're just actors, or they're musicians, or they're but they're not really their lives may be in shambles, is my point. Is like, they're not necessarily good. I think I hate celebrity culture. I think it's gross. I think we're seeing all the perversions of it every time one of these stories comes out where, oh, shocker, someone's a freaking rapist, and it's been covered for forever. But I think Mark Cuban's interesting because I think he does have a level of celebrity, but it is because of what he's done, which I think is a little bit different. Now, you think you're right.
A lower middle class Jewish kid from Pittsburgh,
right? And
started his first.
People like that kind of story.
Trash bag.
Yeah, people love that kind of story. I think Cuban, out of all these people we've mentioned, actually would be the most realistic person that I could see that working. Now, I don't know if he'd be good at governing. I think that's the problem, is that we often think, I think people don't understand how hard that job is. I think it is a much harder job than people think it is. But you have to have someone that has, I think, some humility. I think that's the main thing that we're missing. Trump has zero humility, obviously.
And that's funny you say that, because that's actually something else that I've always liked about Mark Cuban on the Shark Tank. If, we were pitching him as a team to, help this radio show grow, and he bought in for equity of Mastiff Media, he would never take more than 50% of equity. If it would cost him more than 50% of equity to really make the company work, he wouldn't do the deal, because he feels we should maintain that 51%. as the founders, as the owners, the people that
As Matt slowly creeps in.
you get at least some of that 51%.
It is really interesting. I mean, I think
That's the humility that we're talking about.
yeah, and I think that just doesn't exist. I think Biden pretended to be that person, but he's as I think Biden is as egotistical as Trump is. It manifests in different ways, and I think we do need a president. I think we need politicians. I think everyone. I think we need doctors that are a little. I mean, everyone could use a little humility. And I think what would be a refreshing thing in these committee hearings, if when someone is asked a question, they go, you know what, I've not looked into that yet, but I will, and I can get back to you. I'd be okay with that. Does that bother you?
No, because that's exactly what's her nuts for Attorney General saying that she's not familiar with Donald Trump saying, "Find me 11,000 votes." How can you be?
Oh, no, not that. But that's a dodge. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like instead of pretending that you or saying some other thing that distracts it, or Pete Hegseth constantly.
So I agree with you, Blake. On the campaign trail, some people would come up to me, and I am one of those guys that say, I just don't know. And
I don't know. I'd love to look into that.
And that is literally the one of the most destructive things you could probably say too, because not many people look. That is an attack vector, and I think it's
when
just
you're running like that, you're supposed to know everything.
Exactly, and then they're like, "Well, he doesn't." Honestly, it hurts more than it helps. So just kind of like just deflect and do something. It just really, Blake, that in a perfect world, I agree with you. That's right, exactly what you do, and I do it, and I don't really care about the flack. But again, in these kind of hearings, you can't do that. That's silly.
But I think the American public is okay with that. I think
the American public ain't voting right now. It's going to be the Senate, and the Senate's going to blast it on TikTok.
But I do think that, like I said, maybe you're
imagine
right
how politically devastating that would be for TikToks of the president saying, I don't know until Trump appointing. Like that would be just politically devastating.
Maybe I don't know is not the right. You're right. Maybe I don't know is not the right phrasing, but something along the lines of. Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Did we get Blake backpedaling?
Well, no, not bad. I'm just saying, I think you're right in front of a Senate committee. What I'm talking about is in front of voters, though. I feel like it's refreshing when someone is authentic or even says the answer that we don't want to hear.
Yeah. Okay. You know what?
No, we do that. I mean, people do that a lot. And the people,
the guy that's going to get my vote is the one that says essentially just that, because you, the voter, haven't told me yet. And that gets back to the democracy versus Republican, versus Republic.
Nobody likes to take self-responsibility about these things. So no, that's also a bad move.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know because you haven't said anything. Oh yeah, like it's my fault.
No. but not that it's their fault. It's
and
just
Americans are dumb. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
No, they're not, dude.
If they can elect Trump,
we're not very educated. We're not well.
You're definitely going to elect somebody who's going to say, "I'm going to do what you tell me to do."
Well, or all your dreams can come true. Yeah, we need someone that actually says like there are trade-offs. I mean, that's the main thing I want from a politician, that will just be honest about like everything has trade-offs, everything, and we will not like my point is disaster will strike and we will realize that. But I would prefer to prevent the disaster from striking. But I'm not convinced that we will do that. I think that it will take something more destructive than COVID to snap people out of their tribal crap and their wish list of things that are impossible, and they don't think of the trade-offs and stuff. It will take like World War III, unfortunately, I think, to snap people out of realizing that, oh, wait, there are consequences to electing people that we are entertained by them fighting with each other on television. That's my concern.
Which, by the way, World War III is actually something we've been in.
Oh, I don't think we're in it, but I think
we're here again. Next topic. I'm sick of talking about this president, who we want for president, this fictitious conversation. And we're talking about anything else?
I mean, what was the other thing on the list? We had something else.
Well, talk about it. Back to the cabinet for a minute. Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
4.
Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
If I were in the Senate,
really?
I would say thumbs down probably. But Matt, why are you thumbs up?
Matt, you're the one that pointed out she was like serious bitch.
No, I didn't.
A couple of weeks ago, wasn't that you?
I don't think that was me. No.
I don't think bitch was
I
anything
thought
that brought
you
up.
pointed it out, and Blake, you kind of, as usual, elaborated on it.
No, I mean there is this rumor of alleged being. I honestly I think it's a Democratic smear campaign that against her that is because of who she is
Really?
now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt. And also, look, I don't see why. Look, we're talking about qualifications, and an ex-congresswoman, who has already been through a lot of areas of government, who is also military, who is obviously hardworking, who has been in the public spotlight, and has been trying to shape and craft policy. Um, I just don't see where she's lacking. In
I think
this.
believing Assad over our intelligence is a problem for me. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the most concerning thing for me with her is that
Well, I
she
don't
was
think
hiding.
that's not entirely true. She never believed them. She made an off the cuff comment about something, and then they said that you're a traitor and
No,
and it's
she
treason.
said
I
she
mean, so
did not. No, she said she believed Assad that he didn't use chemical weapons against his own citizens, which our intelligence overwhelmingly shows he did over and over again. And she said she did not believe that.
well, she's
that-
gonna have access to that intelligence as well. So I'm gonna say still thumbs up, man. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm saying thumbs up.
I think she'll be a disaster. I mean,
I don't think so.
I think
I absolutely don't think so.
I think the problem that the reason all of them will be a disaster is because all of them are they will not stand up to Trump. I mean, that is the number one. That is the criteria. Is that
I think that they will, and we'll see who stands up because they'll be fired really soon. I do not. I think the biggest issue is I don't think that Trump's building a team that can work together well.
Oh, you're absolutely right about that.
And I think that there's a lot of conflicting interests there when it comes to say Rubio's stance and like Gabbard's stance and Pete's stance. And I do think that anyway, I just think there's gonna be a lot of conflict within the cabinet, and I think Trump likes that, and then Trump's gonna be the arbitrator. And I think we're gonna see like who really cares and takes their job
not-
seriously.
Here's what he did with like January 6th, the 2020 election, so many different things. He had most of his people telling him, "You lost."
Yeah, well, right before they resigned or got fired, but yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he believes some small faction that tells him what he wants to hear.
Yep.
And says, "We've got this path this way."
You know, a lot of people have been commenting on Mark Zuckerberg and his like positioning these days, and he's like, well, do you think Mark would have taken the position he has right now about Facebook if Harris won? And I think that's an honest question. And I kind of feel the same way about all the people in the cabinet in January 6th. If they actually got to the Capitol and got Mike Pence, would they have all resigned? Probably not.
Here's I think the subtle difference. I think you're right, Matt. I think that no, Mark Zuckerberg would not be doing what he's doing right now if Kamala Harris had won, for sure.
I think it's an actual question that we should have, because what we see is a lot of these resignations came out after January 6th, after they voiced and after it's not going well. They're like, oh well, I'm resigning now.
That day. A lot of them were that day.
Quite a few of
Well,
them.
yeah, it was that day when they knew they messed up. Like, hey, no,
and go ahead.
I've said this before. Go watch or listen to the podcast. What is it? I just took it off Restream the other day. The Whistleblowers.
Yes, and there were quite a few people that left in December before January 6th. To be fair, they were like his attorney general and stuff. That was part of this whole investigation. I think there's a subtle difference. I think you can have sort of Lincoln's team of rivals, and it can work if the purpose is to have great debate and come to great solutions.
I mean, Bush had that. W had that.
A lot of people did.
Rumsfeld, and I forget who didn't get along.
Yeah, of course. A lot of smart presidents do that for sure, because I want to hear, like, look, the thing I would do if I were president, every day on every issue, I'd be like, I'm getting the foremost experts on opposite sides of this, and they're going to come in and they're going to debate it in front of me. And that's what I would want my cabinet to be full of. Now, I mean, there's some ideology that I'd be like, there are some non-negotiables. The Constitution's non-negotiable. There's a lot of things like that, like how the order of things, like there are some things that would be, this is level one stuff, but everything else is like, yeah, I want to hear your best opinion, and you better be able to argue it better than the other guy. But the difference is with Trump, and it's very subtle, is that he wants the people to be rivals, so they're competing for his attention and his loyal, and like showing who can be the most loyal, which Jurgs, I will give you, is Hitler-esque. That's what Hitler did. That's what Hitler did with his generals and stuff, and his cat.
I am actually, you're both either going to cringe or kind of be impressed or roll your eyes or all three. I'm actually writing a white paper on that concept.
Yeah, so there's quite a bit of a difference between that, right? I mean, what Hitler did with that team of rivals is different because it was a competition for his loyalty, and the other difference is Trump basically just listens to the last person he talked to, or the person that's as close to what he wants. So I think you're right. Like Marco Rubio is probably the first person to go because I think Marco Rubio actually has some convictions about how we should do foreign policy, and I think that there's no way that's going to not rub against MAGA, even if it doesn't rub against Trump potentially. So I think Marco Rubio is the first one.
That's the type that you actually need to look for when you look for people like this. Somebody that a Secretary of State who knows it's their job to be, in absence of the president and vice president, the chief diplomat. And it's their job to talk people out of fighting, essentially, and to build relationship. So that when that person says in that meeting in the Situation Room or in the Oval Office, Mr. Secretary, looking at the Defense Secretary, balls in your court.
Right. Like what's the call? What would you do?
I did what I can do. These people don't want to listen.
Yeah. But I think the problem is going to be with Trump specifically is the first administration was full of people that were trying to not, like, there were people that pulled papers off his desk so he wouldn't sign. Like,
oh yeah,
which I get what they think they're doing is the right.
They were essentially trying to keep him from burning the house down.
Right, but I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think that
that isn't.
I think you resign. I think that, like, the second someone does something that you fundamentally disagree with, whether it's constitutionally,
listen to that podcast.
Yeah, no,
I what they contemplated.
Right, and so
a lot of them eventually did.
Right, but my point is, I think that they actually
stay here. Yeah. If we don't stay here and keep the reins on this knucklehead, who's going to?
Right, but would we have been better?
Can't you just admit that's some arrogance, though? I mean, how arrogant do you think that you are keeping the wheels on the? That's kind of arrogant.
Nobody is in that position for the money.
Well, but here's the thing.
And once you've done everything you've done.
No, obviously, that's the arrogance. They're in there for the position, for the power, and they feel that they have the power to outweigh the president of the United States.
Yeah, and I as a voter, that bothers me.
All about ego. If you have a decent president, one of the things they've got, one of the biggest qualifications they've got for the job, which is why I picked Steve Jobs and Tillman Fertitta and Mark Cuban, is ego. I can do something that these people can't.
Yeah, you have to be a little bit
of largely the top people around them are the same way. If you've gone through your entire career of public service, like Joe Biden, who has been in federal government as a governor, not just like some mailroom guy, for as long as I've been alive, don't you think he deserves a retirement by now? But no, at 70 some years old, he decides to run for president.
But you need to, here's the thing. I think you need to respect the office, though. And that's my problem.
Do you really think, Joe, that you're the only person in the country who's got this?
I think he does. I think that's what's actually so delusional.
That's the ego.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake that they make, was that they think that they've got people around them that are going to tell them what they need to hear.
Well, and you're right. It's those people think that they also are the person that has the right answer, and so they should, like, block the president from doing something he wants to do. And I think that that's wrong on the level of, like, no, that's your boss. That guy's in charge of you. If you disagree with something, you need to resign. That is the option.
Or
agreed.
At least wash your hands. Not necessarily resign.
I mean, you can disagree all you want. Look. Me and my boss had a great relationship. I was the general manager of a place. He was the managing director, and we would argue all the time. To be honest with you, I don't think we agreed on everything, but we loved to have it. And he would make decisions all the time that were not my decision for these big things that he had to make the decision on. You know, and the fact is there's a difference between having that relationship, and then having a relationship where you actually disregard and push other people out. So. Look, I just feel that this is why I agree with you with Jobs. is I feel that a good leader and a good manager is able to let people take on their projects and do what they're going to do, um,
And
and
demand
then
excellence, by the way.
and demand excellence, but also they demand excellence of themselves,
Right.
So you're having that. But
Right.
then there's the other way of saying like, hey, we're gonna push you and push you out of your opinions and and degrade your opinions and your expertise, and then expect that there's gonna be excellence coming from your department. And
Right.
I just feel that we're gonna get the latter in this instance, and we have
Oh, yeah.
hyper performers. I don't care what you guys think about these people, if you like them or not, or think they are absolutely high performers, and they demand a lot from themselves. And that's
Yeah.
Tulsi, and that's RFK Jr., and that's Pete Hegseth, and all these people. And I feel that there's not many people, Marco Rubio. I feel that there's not many people that are going to be, we're gonna really see like what they believe and how much they actually think of themselves, when it comes down to like how they run the department, and how much they're going to be able to be, and if Trump actually promotes them as they're these thought leaders that they're supposed to be.
I think what will more likely happen is
I gotta let Matrix
I
outside.
think that what will more likely happen is that I think there's clearly, I mean, look at the people he's picking. It's clear that he wants people that can be on TV saying what he wants them to say. And you know what I mean? Like he wants good communicators. I don't think it's that he wants them to communicate their vision. I think he wants them to communicate his. I think that
Possible.
can be really dangerous because it's like, will Rubio go out there and say the thing that he really believes, or will he just say what he knows?
I don't know if that's okay. First of all, I don't know if that's his job in public. I don't really care about that in public. In public, you should have a united front. So that's another. But that's another thing that I want. Like for my boss example is like we would argue all the time. But once he made a decision, I would go out there and advocate as though that's the decision. You know, you don't go out there and so it's like I don't really know care if they all go on TV and say Trump had the best idea. What I will see what happens is if they start talking differently about what they truly believe. Like Tulsi was all about, foreign wars and trying to stay out of them and take, aggression down. If that happens, then it looks like she's achieving her a directive. If she's coming out there advocating for foreign wars, then I know that there's compromise. If RFK Jr. starts doing lines of red dye number 5, then I know that there's compromise there, or bending on what he believes. I just don't think that you're going to get that from these caliber of people. To be honest with you,
I also
like
think,
him or hate him, I just don't think you will.
I also think, frankly, he's putting a bunch of people in charge of bureaucracies that they've never managed anything. Pete Hegseth managed 2 small charities that he ran into the ground. RFK Jr.'s never managed anything. He's got a fourth of the government budget underneath him. I think that you will see quickly just normal. They're not up to the actual job of the bureaucracy.
Who has a fourth of the
Health and Human Services, a fourth of the budget.
The Defense Department's almost $1 trillion. That's almost a third of it.
No, the defense is like 11%. It's not anywhere.
Yeah, I think Health and Human Services is actually more than
Health and Human Services more than a quarter.
More than defense?
Yes, because Social Security.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, because Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid is all underneath that. And so
and the CDIC, FDA, all of those people are under them. So they have a massive budget, massive.
And the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, he's in charge of 3 million employees. It's the largest employer in the United States, private or government. And he just doesn't have any management skills now that he might surprise us. I just don't think that's something you can just jump into. Now maybe he hires great people underneath him. I don't know. I just don't. I think it's more likely than not they flounder in. Is that the right word? Flounder? Yeah. In that the weight of just the normal day-to-day operations of those gigantic agencies. I think I
want to give them the benefit of the doubt because look, here's what I think. Unpopular opinion for a Democrat, I know. I think Mayor Pete floundered at his job. But he's still revered as one of the top Democrats because of the way he communicates, right?
Yeah, but I think that's foolish.
Department of Transportation, Yergs.
Okay, because I think he did excellent as mayor of South Bend.
No, I was talking about Department of Transportation. I don't think I just don't feel with all the things that are happening with the airlines, and then we had East Palestine over here, and all of these different things with the trains, and then we had the way that they handled the union strike when it comes to that. I just don't think that he did a good job. I don't,
No.
but it was all glossed over because of the way he communicated. Now, I wanted to see how they do as a job. Honestly, I'm going to back off and say, because here's the thing: is a lot of people said Mayor Pete is excellent. Mayor Pete's doing a great job. Mayor Pete is, the creme de la creme. I don't think so.
I disagree. Yeah, I mean, I think he's very eloquent. I think he speaks well, but that does not mean you can manage the Department of Transportation. And to me, the managing is what I care about. I don't care if you're an a-hole. Like going back to Steve Jobs.
Well, this goes back to Pete Hegseth, and that's what I said about the whole thing with his wife. I don't care about that. Can you do the job? I don't care about your personal. I really don't care.
I care about the judgment. I think it's to be married to someone, cheat on that person with someone you have a baby with, and then 2 months later cheat on that person. To me, is showing a poor judgment. That I go, what other things are you going to have poor judgment on when it? The thing that bothers me more is his defense of people that committed war crimes. That is actually my biggest problem with him. Is I go, I don't want the Secretary of Defense defending American soldiers committing war crimes. I think that we should take that seriously, and we should say, no, war crimes are war crimes. We're going to be the country that actually says we're not going to do that when Russia and China don't play by those rules. I think that we should be careful to do so they can't use it as well, look, they're doing it too. Because I think that's a fair assessment. And when Pete Hegseth has defended some of these people, I know you have to go case by case, but some of them are pretty bad. And I don't understand the defense of these soldiers that committed war crimes. That bothers me more than the cheating thing. But again, it's a judgment value. I go, there are some bad soldiers, and we should weed them out, just like there are bad police officers that we should weed out and stuff. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. And I just worry that the head of the Defense Department, I just feel
that we take these personal life things, we put them out there. Again, where have we had the questions in these hearings about doing the job, the Constitution, and all these things? But we always put these personal lives, number one is how you're going to run your organization. And if you just do a quick search of our presidents, again, in that hearing, it's how many people came up for voting when they're drunk voting at late night, or how many people had affairs and things like that. And if you're just looking at I just pulled it up. What are some of the things in the personal life did the presidents do? There's affairs, there's beatings, there's duels, there's bigotry, racism, sexual harassment, bullying, numerous. I mean, look at John F. Kennedy. I mean, he has a little black book.
Look at all the Kennedys, all of them.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that preventing them from doing the job? And I'm going to have to say I don't know if that is going to be the decider here.
Yeah, it's a case by case basis for me for sure. Because RFK Jr. has had sexual affairs with way more people than Hegseth. It sounds like, but they don't concern me as much because for a weird reason. It's
why? I mean, he's married. He's literally married to that Cheryl right now, and it's everybody's just like. And it was even with a reporter that was there to cover him. And she's what, in her 20s, early 30s, and he's late 60s, 70s.
I think part of it is that there's been more honesty.
Hey, don't knock at those guys. Those of us that like them younger.
There's been a little more honesty from him.
I'm okay with that. They're adults. I'm just saying it's just such a weird thing to get really fixated about instead of actually asking questions. Can you get the job done? Everybody has personal lives, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody has personal lives, and I'm sorry if and also I will want to point out that we always put this through a very specific lens of what a relationship is and what a relationship's supposed to be and a structure of a relationship. It's usually very Christian centric. It's usually very monogamous. It's usually very, very, so it's polygamy is not a thing. Multiple partners, the ability, maybe you have an agreement with your wife. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna be on a business trip. I might,
but I think it's pretty clear but I'm judging Pete Hegseth on his. But I'm just
saying, and you can't have that out in the open because those are also frowned on. I mean, look at that. Even the LGBTQ community is also frowned on their, and that's personal stuff in your bedroom. And I just think it's just one of those things that can you do the job or can you not do the job?
Yeah, I think that's
I just feel like we get bogged down on these little weird what's the juiciest gossip that I'm going to get all angry about when it comes to these people? Did you get drunk? Yeah, you got drunk. I can't believe you got drunk.
But I do
I
think
mean, I was working on
concern if it's really as bad as they say it is.
I was working Hillary's detail the night she got quote unquote busted for doing shots with her staff.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that's dumb.
Drinking on the job. I mean, to be honest with you, I've drank on the job. I was in hospitality.
It was at the end of the
You know?
day, late at night, and she had a good day, as did her staff.
That
Why
doesn't
would you not buy them drinks?
That doesn't bother me. I mean, not with the Secretary
It
of
bothered
State.
the media.
And again, with Pete, it also was he was showing up to Fox. Honestly, if you need a couple of drinks and to go on the air, I would say, hey, that's not drinking on the job. Take your shots. Go on. Are you having a good show? Or are you not having a good show?
Yeah.
Drinking.
I just don't
doesn't
know,
bother me.
man. It's just I just think
By the way,
it's such petty. Like
No,
it's just-
drinking is not what bothers me. Drunkenness is what bothers me. There's a difference between drinking and drunkenness. And it sounds like Pete
100%.
Hegseth. Now, again, he's claiming this
And-
is all.
look-
I don't believe that all of these sources, including some at Fox and all these other places, and it's very clear. I mean, look at the video of the affair from the police report. He's drunk. So is the other girl that he, she claims is sexual assault. They're drunk. They're wasted drunk. They're stumbling drunk. When you're the head of an organization, you're throwing parties and you're drunk at them. I'm like, that's drunkenness is different than drinking. And so it concerns me. That concerns me more than the sexual stuff. I think it's bad judgment across.
what organization was he ahead of at that time?
It was, I can't remember which one it was. There was two veteran organizations. And he was at one until I think 2010. And then at another one till I think 2015 is when he joined Fox News. I don't remember the names of them. They were both like veteran affairs sort of charities that, I mean, by all means.
Churchill was drunk all through World War II.
Yeah, but I mean that.
I'm just saying. Do you do the job or you not do the job? I'm just saying.
But I think it's worth.
I heard Nixon was drunk all throughout his presidency.
Right, but don't you think it's worth going?
Johnson took a little nip. I heard he had a bottle in the drawer in the Oval Office.
I think it was more Johnson. Johnson also liked mixing it with. He was the one who said he's sitting at the Resolute desk. He turns to his left and said, "You know, it would be nice if there was a tap of 7-Up right here."
Oh, you get that.
So
like
next
Diet Coke button.
Next day, there was a tap of 7-Up
Yeah.
aside of the Resolute desk.
Yeah, I mean, my point is just like if we could prevent the drunkenness in office, because most of the time it doesn't work out that well. Sure, you've got some high performing drunks that do the job well, but statistically, that's not how well. Like
I agree. But again, they said, were you drunk and you had this organization? Is the organization solvent? Did they do their jobs? Were they in a profit?
No, they did not do their job well.
No.
And if they didn't do their jobs, then that's an issue. That's what I want to hear about, and I haven't heard about that.
Well, yeah, the problem is that he ran he ran both of them into debt and got
Hegseth is a moron. All right, bad dog.
So, that I think those are the kind of questions that we have to ask. And like I said, I think Trump's going to get most of this cabinet. I think Tulsi or RFK Jr. will go down. I think one of them have the best chance. I think Pete Hegseth is going to, and mostly because of bullying. It sounds like there were a couple people. I think it was the one from Iowa.
The Republican Party is nothing more than inferior Democrats.
She got bullied into it. So I think that most of them will get through, and then we will see if they do a good job. I think that. What do you think the over/under is on how many of these cabinet level members are still here at the end of 2025?
Oh, 50% turnover rate.
You think it's that high?
He's had that in his first.
I'm saying 50%.
At the end of his first administration, the only one that was there all 4 years was Mnuchin, and you haven't even heard about him right now.
Right, and that's fair. Like through 4 years is one thing. I'm just saying, how many do you think will be gone by the end of 2025? I would be shocked if it's 50, but I mean, it also wouldn't surprise me. Does that sound weird to say that? I'd be like, wow, that's pretty bad. Except I'd also be like, well, yeah, you did go work for the Trump administration. I do think that several of these high profile ones, I think there's no way Marco Rubio makes it 2 years. I think there's no way Pete Hegseth makes it 2 years. I also don't think,
I'm putting him on the one that's making it. Actually, I bet he's going to make it
more so because he's going to be a yes man. He's going to be yes, Mr. Trump.
He's the bro. He's the bro that Trump's going to go in there. He's going to be like bro it up with Trump and be a bro and all that stuff.
I think even
Ken
Trump
says 65% turnover. We're going high here. I'm going high, man. I think Tulsi's gone. I think RFK is possibly going to be gone. I think the fact of the matter is there's people with conviction, and like Marco, he's another guy who knows what he's doing. Like it or hate him. Again, if you like these people or hate these people, it doesn't matter. All I'm saying
Just talking
is
about
people that
will they
with
make it?
conviction are going to try to do a thing, and they're not going to be able to do the thing. They're gone. Tulsi's gone. RFK's gone. Marco's gone. Hegseth's a bro. He doesn't care. He's going to stay there and drink some
I
beers.
think Hegseth.
Yeah, but
I
the other thing about the Secretary of State is it's a lot of travel. I know because I did it with her, and it's a lot of long days, not just late nights, but early mornings. A lot of them don't make it 8 years for those doing 2 terms, and some of them don't make it all 4 for that same reason.
Right. I don't think that's why Marco Rubio will leave those because he's tired of traveling. I think it will be because there's a conflict. I think the reason
gonna
Hegseth
blame
might
it
have
on-
trouble.
He's
I
going
think
to
Burgum's gone.
he's going to
Probably.
blame it on that. It's going to be the usual excuse. I
Yeah.
need to spend more time with my family.
Right, of
Yada
course.
yada yada.
It's always something like that. My point is, I think that what will happen is that with Hegseth specifically, is that you can't control what world events will happen, and he'll be really easy to throw under the bus if there is a Department of Defense scandal of any kind that makes Trump look bad. That's the other thing. Trump just doesn't want to look bad. So if you do anything that, like, whether it's mismanagement or something like that, he's going to fire you and blame it on you. So that's the reason I think Hegseth might be gone, is because, what happens if there's some sort of
Nah. I disagree. I think Hegseth's gonna be fine. I think Kristi Noem's gonna be fine. I think Pam Bondi's gonna get fired. So I think the high performers will leave. Bondi's gonna get fired, and then I think Noem's gonna stay. Stefanos gonna stay.
Why does Bondi get fired?
I think she's just gonna be
Incompetence or
totally
suspension?
incompetent and make him look bad.
No, I think he asked her to do something that she says no to. I think that's
I don't think so.
likely.
I
don't think so.
maybe.
Not-
I think
not
she's just
with
gonna
the
be
answers. Not
Yeah,
with the answer she gave during her hearing.
agreed.
How can you not know that he sat on a phone call that everybody knew was recorded, and he said, "Just find me 11,000 votes"? How do
Well,
you not know?
she also got asked,
only
about
two
birthright
reasons.
citizenship.
There's only 2 reasons where that's possible: you live under a rock, or you're lying through your teeth.
Oh, she's lying through her teeth.
Either case, she's not qualified to be the attorney general.
Right, but this is all stupid politics at this point. If the rubber
Yeah.
really hits the road and Trump says, "I want you to go arrest Liz Cheney," and I think if she goes, "It's not possible. There's no charge I can bring up. I can't find a single law," and he says, "I want you to do it anyway," I think that's a very realistic situation. Now, I also think Trump more likely, he gets distracted really easily, and I think he will move on from all the I think what will probably happen, he pardons the misdemeanor January 6 people and then leaves it in the past. I think that I don't think he is willing to do the fight to pardon all January 6thers and continue that when he doesn't care. He got reelected. Like, he doesn't really care about those people. And so I don't really think he's going to go after Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. And I don't think that witness,
I don't think you know Donald Trump.
I just think he's going to get bored by it. I think that but
No.
maybe not. I mean, I hope I'm
he's-
right, because I think it would be
he's still
incredibly dangerous.
he's still bitter about losing casinos and so many other things.
Well, I know, but he
does
had all these
not.
enemies in his first term too, and then he didn't do anything about it. He didn't even do political things much about it. Like, he really didn't do anything to hinder Hillary Clinton after saying he'd lock her up. He didn't even do one thing to make her life a little harder. So
2 reasons for that. He had the adults in the room at that time, which he doesn't have now.
that's true.
Shiny object syndrome. He doesn't have. It's not that he doesn't have the balls to go after something. He doesn't have the attention span.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think he has the attention span to continue the January 6th stuff. I don't think he has the attention. Now, I think Kash Patel might decide he wants to do that kind of stuff. That's the difference here. I just don't think Trump has the attention span. But we will see. I mean,
Merrick Garland is not Kash Patel.
well, they're not the same job either.
Well, I mean, same department.
Right, but I mean, we're talking Christopher
Well,
Wray.
who was it? Ray?
Ray is the most recent one. But I mean, look, in the FBI,
No, but
talking about someone that needs to shake
I
up.
mean, the FBI, the most recent one at the FBI for Trump, was it Christopher Wray, or was that Biden's?
Wait, who was at the very? No, yeah, Ray was appointed by Trump, right? No, I'm confused now.
But-
The FBI had a lot of turnover.
The FBI had a lot of them because Trump got rid of them.
Well,
And that's how
No.
so many of them came in. Was there was a Trump guy that was coming in that was like from the bottom of the list, and the top guys who got bypassed said, "Dude, you will say no, or we'll say no for you."
yes, Ray was 2017, but he didn't fire a bunch of directors. It was just Comey left. That's it.
Yeah, but there after Comey left, there were others that
McCabe was just acting. He was not. He was
that's
just
the
acting.
point. None of them were actually confirmed.
Well, right, but that was only for 2 months. That was literally acting director while he then nominated Ray.
Dude, you will enjoy
Okay.
it. Listen to the whistleblower.
No, I need to. I just don't have podcast time to listen to stuff.
Real quick, guys. I'm gonna change topics really quick. I know we all got to go,
Yeah.
but do you think? I just totally lost my thought. What an idiot!
happens.
What an idiot!
Do you think
No,
OKC is going to beat Cleveland in the finals this year? Yes.
We'll see about that. We're 1-1 right now, but that was embarrassment last night. That was embarrassing.
That was especially with our bigs out. Like what? I was
Yeah.
worried about that game last night with our bigs being hurt, but whatever.
Yeah, you didn't have to be worried.
Apparently
Do you think that Pete Rose should be admitted into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I feel like Yergs is the one I should defer to here as a former umpire.
Yeah. I met Pete Rose when I was a kid. He is an asshole.
Yeah, but you
Is-
know,
Right.
so
Ball player.
are all the. I mean, probably most professional athletes are.
No. I'll tell you another story. There was a famous Philadelphia Eagle linebacker named Petey Perot. Mean son of a bitch. And we were watching their summer camp at a company at a place called Westchester University in Pennsylvania. And no, it was at Albright, whatever. We're at this small college watching their summer camp. And Dick Vermeil chews this guy up one side and down the other. Practice ends. They all start walking up this hill towards the locker room at the top of the hill. It's just a set of stairs that goes up the hill. And they're all like double file going up these stairs. And then at the top of the hill is this snow fence that's just there to keep the crowd back. And then the snow fence creates a chute from the stairs to the building. Perot's pissed off. He bypasses the stairs, goes right up the side of the hill, puts one foot on the snow fence, and the whole thing goes down. And the crowd of kids, people, fans, whoever, just parts like the Red Sea. Except for this one little kid who didn't know any better, is standing there with a pad and pencil, wanting to get the guy's autograph. And everybody's like, oh, no, he's going to step on him. He's going to push him out of the way. This guy picks the kid up, puts him on his shoulder, and carries him into the locker room.
It's nice.
And that kid came out with a pad full of Eagles autographs. And then there was Tony Franklin, the kicker, one of the last barefoot kickers in the NFL.
Wait, we had barefoot kickers?
Oh, yeah.
I did not realize this.
Your kicking foot, it was a thing to do it barefoot.
That sounds painful.
And that was because the laces created an uneven texture against the ball. You could shank it to the side more easily.
I think we could just like
And then
come up
the
with a string
NFL
of different laces on
the
there.
NFL, yeah, the NFL outlawed it. But he would just he'd be outside after the practice. He'd be signing autographs. He'd just stand there. He'd take a pad and pen from Blake, sign it, and drop it. And if you caught it, good for you. If somebody else picked it up instead, sucks to be you. And they just grab the next one. Keep in mind, he's a kicker. He's not a big guy. It won't take a lot for some pissed off dad to rearrange his teeth because he did that to his son.
Is the lead up to this that Pete Rose did not give you his autograph?
Pete Rose charged you for his autograph.
Yeah. But
From-
it was yeah.
Immediately after retirement, even while he was still with
This
the
was
Phillies,
actually
he charged you for his autograph.
This was actually going somewhere else because I was just scrolling on Facebook and I saw something else that was just that was related to Pete Rose, not Pete Rose, but a like situation where you had where he was kicked out because of gambling. Now we have gambling like it's everywhere,
I think it's
and it's
ruining
like
the
now,
sport.
and now he's still punished for doing the thing that now everybody does. I know he was a play or a coach at the
But
time.
he didn't bet
but-
on any of his games, right? That's
Supposedly,
my understanding.
that's-
Suppose, but
That's
the fact is it's like now that we have this, it's kind of like marijuana offenses. It's like
Yeah.
it's like everybody's in jail for marijuana now. It's legal everywhere, and it's like you're in jail for the marijuana and then everybody's smoking weed outside. It's like
Yeah.
But who was wasn't there just a Buccaneer or somebody? I want to say somebody in the NFL was just banned for life.
Those
for-
NBA. It's happened. A couple NBA players have been banned for life, but they were betting on themselves.
yeah,
There's a huge difference between betting on yourselves or betting on your team. I mean, I don't think anyone should do it. Obviously, the most obvious example of someone that should have never been doing it was the NBA ref that was doing it.
Yeah.
That was a big problem. I think the problem.
He
Matt,
he was a legacy ref, wasn't he? Wasn't his dad an NBA ref too?
I'm not sure. What was his name? Tony.
I don't remember.
I can't remember his name now.
But I
the
did look
Netflix
up
show on him is
uh,
fascinating. By the way, watch it.
the NBA or sorry, the NHL, the Lightning won last night 4-3 at home
Right.
over
Avs-
the Ducks. They
Avs were
are
a 3-0 lead.
24. They are 24-16-3 without their former captain Steven Stamkos.
I think the playoffs are going to be really interesting in the NHL this year. But Matt, I think your point is right. Like I think gambling is going to open up a gigantic can of worms in professional sports and college sports, and I think that it's going to ruin all of it. I think that there's no way you can capitulate to your biggest advertisers being. I mean, look, ESPN now has their own betting app. You don't think there's an incentive there for someone to get on TV and say, I think this is the bet I'd make, even if it's a bad bet, so that their ESPN bet company makes money. I think it's, and not to mention the gambling addicts that we're going to create out of this. I think it's going to ruin sports. I think it's bad for kids to see that the thing to learn about sports is that every 3 minutes we're talking about the betting line, and that's what it's all about. And I think that we're going to have a bunch of gambling addict young men. We already do have a lot. I think it's going to be really a problem. And it is hypocritical then to say, Pete Rose, you don't get to be in the Hall of Fame because you bet some buddies on a few games. I mean, I don't know how bad the scandal was because I'm not a baseball guy.
The guy's name is Tim Donaghy.
Yes, Tim.
Former NBA referee was caught betting on games he officiated. He pleaded guilty to 2 federal charges in 2007 and served 15 months in prison. I didn't know that.
Guys, they were doing. There's what's the Netflix? Do you guys know the Netflix show that's like they're 30 for 30, but it's called Untold, I think is what it's called.
Operation Flagrant Foul.
Yeah, watch the Untold with him. It's fascinating because he goes.
Watch Untold. Operation Flagrant Foul.
Yep, it's really good. And the sort of the gist of because it interviews him, which I think is really great. The 201 is also great. Wait, is that the Notre Dame quarterback or not quarterback?
Coach.
No, linebacker. That was. Anyway, the point is that it's a good show. They're good shows, and I like that it takes a view of something that we thought we know the story of, but then kind of a little bit later tells us a little bit more. I think we should do that more with politics too. I saw someone on Instagram that said, unpopular opinion, sports documentaries are better than sports, and I'm like, that might actually be true. I actually really enjoy sports, but almost every sports documentary that actually goes into the details and what was going on in the background is always fascinating. And this one about the NBA reffing stuff is really good. Worth watching. I got to run though.
Yeah, same here. I got to go find my dogs. They're probably swimming in the Gulf of Mexico by now.
Well, hopefully not.
All right, gang. Another good show. Enjoy Monday.
Inauguration and Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah, enjoy that, and we'll see you next week. All right, gang. Good long one today. I will be back on Monday with the inauguration with Jane Stahl for Up the Middle and Both Sides Now. I'm going to watch this little clip and then go find my dogs. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for running with the big dogs up the middle. We'll see you again. Have a great weekend. Should probably have that queued up already. There it is.